Welcome to the Main Character Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Hamblin, main character of my own story. But this podcast isn't about me. It's about you, and all of you. Every person that has ever lived on this planet, all 8 billion people here now, all that came before us, and all that will come hereafter are the main characters in their own story. My aim is to interview people that embody living in their energy and discovering from their perspective what their perception of reality is like. Buckle up. You're about to experience the world through another main character's eyes. So, Jill.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
We were just saying it. We could go on and on and on and talk for hours and hours and hours. So,
Yes.
before we get too deep on anything crazy,
Okay.
let's start at the beginning with you.
Okay.
Just to kind of get us set up for where did you come from? How did you get to where you are now? And then we'll dive. And we might dive earlier. Who knows? I like to rabbit hole.
We
but
do.
Where were you born, raised, all that fun jazz?
So I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas. Well, actually a little bit outside of El Paso, but that's the biggest kind of city or landmark that people would know.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a pecan farm about 40 miles east.
Pecan farm?
Pecan farm.
Oh, pecan farm. Oh, cool.
Yeah. And fun fact, we actually had ostriches growing up. So we did raise ostriches for a period of time, and that was really a fun experience. But loved being a farm kid.
Yeah.
Grew up in the El Paso Valley. I believe it will be 5th generation now of
That's
my ancestry
phenomenal.
that settled it. So if my nieces and nephews are taking it on. So
You don't have any interest?
no, not in the pecan farming.
Okay.
No,
All right.
I do want it to stay in the family. My
Yeah.
oldest brother has really taken on that mantle of wanting to keep the farm.
Cool.
And for me, we actually all owned a part of the farm, but I sold mine when I moved up here to Washington State.
Oh.
Partly because I really thought it's better to have it all under one sibling who's really dedicated to wanting to keep it in the family.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And I mean, if for some reason all my siblings didn't want it and wanted to sell it, I would probably do whatever I could to find a way to keep it.
Yeah.
Because there is something about growing up on the land and being raised on that kind of lifestyle. So that's where I was born and raised, was just against the Mexican border. We used to play in the Rio Grande all the time as kids. And
That's wild.
it is a little bit of the Wild West out there. It's an amazing place. El Paso is such a great city, so warm. The culture is so rich. I miss that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where my roots came from. One of 7 kids.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
Where are you at in birth order?
I'm number 5.
Okay, you're number 5. You're one of the babies.
I was. And actually, I got kind of the blessing of being the youngest for almost 4.5 years.
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually the baby, and my parents kind of thought that I was going to be the last. And then my brother came along and surprised us. And then my younger sister 3 years after him. And I got to kind of be big sister to them too, but also have that ability to be little sister to my other 4 siblings. So I loved it.
Because then what's the age range with the older siblings?
My oldest brother would now be 45.
Okay.
And then basically down to me, it was a 2-year age gap.
Boom, boom, boom.
All the way to me. They said I ruined the trend because I was the 3-year age gap. But it was 2 up until then.
Yeah.
So they're all really kind of, we're born pretty close together, like kind of every 2 years, pretty consistently. And so I kind of threw that off with being 3. Of course, I just had to be the troublemaker.
Yeah, geez, that doesn't sound like you at all.
There's a theme in this.
Yeah, that's weird.
So I just am sitting there and I loved it. I was the youngest, but also got to be part of the older kids when I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then be like, no, like watching cartoons and hanging out in my pajamas sounds way more fun than.
Yeah, it still does.
Yeah, I know. So I'd hang out with my younger siblings and kind of was a bad influence on them, but it was awesome.
That's so good. Is everybody still close? Or maybe I'm assuming, has there been like any division in there?
From me, I'm the problem child.
You're the problem child. Jeez,
let's be honest. I am the only one that actually kind of lives away from the family. My one brother lives in the Austin, Texas area. And that's about 7.5 hours from my parents. And then the other one lives up in the Ruidoso area, which is like 3.5 hours.
Okay.
So I'm literally the only one that like moved away from the family farm.
And when did you move away from the family farm? I'm probably getting ahead.
2017. Yeah.
Okay.
I moved up here to Washington State.
All right.
So, but we're actually all still very close. There was a period of time, it was very difficult on all of us because I moved away and kind of came up here and kind of forged my own path. It did put a strain on us. It caused problems, and like that happens in families. But honestly, by the grace of God, we were able to just converse, and we're now like really close again. In fact, I owe my sister a phone call. Sorry, Jess. I just thought of that.
Jess, you're getting the call after this episode.
Yes.
I'm taking her for the next 3 hours, though. She's mine.
So, yeah, we talk. My sister and I now are back to talking like once a week, and
Cool.
connect with my siblings, and my brother's going to come with me on a trip I'm taking this summer to Florida.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, we've gotten really close again, which
Cool.
I was always praying for that healing, but yeah, I'm definitely a little bit of the black sheep.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, and that's kind of the natural order of things, right? Because people grow, they want to do different things. Of course, like it's never maybe not, I shouldn't say the word never. But growing together, it's hard on a relationship. It's hard with a spouse, with siblings, with parents, with any of it, friends. So, it's amazing how people exit your life and then they find their way back in. And it's just kind of the way that things work. So I'm glad you guys worked it out.
Me too. I missed them. I mean, there is something about if you grow up in that tight sibling bond that it's just so much more even than genetics, although that obviously plays a huge role.
Yeah.
But we were so close growing up, all of us, which was a huge blessing. My parents did such a great job on that. They always taught us like have each other's backs. Even if you hate your sibling, like you still need to have their back.
Yep.
And so,
that's a thing.
It is a thing. So siblings have a unique way of getting on your nerves. And yeah. So it's funny how you can like, I want to kill you. And then somebody else says that and you're like, I'd kill you for saying that to my sibling.
Yes.
So.
I was just telling somebody the story about, cause I've got a brother 3 years younger than 7 and then 15 years younger. And the one that's just 3 years younger than me, him and I did a whole bunch of stuff together. Right. And I'm close with all my brothers.
Go ahead.
But there was multiple times where like we were trying to kill each other. My brother, I like vividly remember I was on my back. He had scissors. He was trying to stab me. And then I think like 15 minutes later, we were playing video games.
Yep.
Yeah. And if somebody else had tried to kill him, I would have killed them. Yeah. It's it's the Wild West with siblings.
It is.
So speaking of the Wild West, I have like 3 or 4 questions with this homestead that have popped into my head. 5 generations back. That's special. A lot of people don't have ties to the land like that.
Right.
What's the story there? When did you I'm sure you've probably ancestry and everything else. What brought them over? Why there?
So I wish I had a little bit more. It's been a minute since I've gotten to really look at our family ancestry.
Okay.
There is a cousin of ours that is really in-depth studied because actually for a long time, the Ivy name, so Ivy is my maiden name, and the Ivy name could not be traced back because he was apparently adopted. So for the longest time, we actually didn't know our deeper roots, but it comes from Ireland. We actually are very heavily Irish. And upon recent years, my cousin had discovered that he actually was an Ivy. He was just born out of wedlock. And so in that time period, obviously...
They didn't record it.
No, they didn't. So he
going in the
ended
family
up
Bible.
getting... No, no, it's not.
No.
So it's fascinating because he actually was an Ivy by blood. So he got adopted into this other family, but nobody wanted to admit that he was actually a half related to, they just acted like they adopted. So that's kind of a little bit probably of a bastardization of that story, but that's kind of what we started to discover. So we found our deep ties to Ireland. Cool. And then fun fact on my dad's side, Coppinger goes back really all the way to Ireland. And there's actually a place called Coppinger Hill. And it's actually our ancestors that were he was a lord over that area.
I'm getting shivers. That's so cool.
And I want to go. I haven't gone to Ireland. It's on my bucket list in the next 2 years.
Oh, yeah. You have a time frame.
I do have a time frame. I've put it off for too long. I wanted to go like right around like COVID. Obviously that kind of destroyed a lot of plans for a lot of people.
Yep. Sure did.
So the plan was within 2 years of 2020, we were actually going to go on this trip to Ireland and go and see my ancestry, because my aunt has gone back. And the funny thing, again, going to genetics, she said she walked into this village and they're like, I don't know, 5th, 6th distant cousins, whatever, but technically in our bloodline. And she said that she saw this guy that looked exactly like my dad and was like, I think that's my brother. And then realized, no, it was a Coppinger, but the mannerisms.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
That's so cool.
I know. So that is like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
So those are our deep ties on like my dad and then the Ivy side. But from the story that I can remember is my grandfather King, or great grandfather, whatever the terminology would be, ended up coming to the El Paso Valley with his wife, Marie. They ended up having 7 boys. Those 7 sons.
Put them to work.
I know, you got to put those kids to work.
That's right.
And one of those 7 sons actually had 14 kids. And then the other had like 11. So when I tell you like big family. Yeah. So they ended up, through that process, ended up settling like the whole El Paso Valley. They moved from California. They served in, I think it would have been World War I. And then my grandpa on both my mom and my dad's side served in World War II. They were kind of from that great generation and just came and settled the El Paso Valley, turned it into farmland. It was originally cotton and alfalfa and some of those other crops. But then my grandpa and some of his brothers started to see, in order to make cotton really a viable commodity, you had to have thousands and thousands of acres.
Yes.
And so they started to switch to a more, like a crop that had longevity to it.
Yeah.
And so they started planting the pecan trees.
Cool.
And that was kind of getting planted while I was growing up. And then my dad tried ostriches for a while, which, side note, ostrich meat is delicious.
Is it? I was going to ask how the eggs were. Because those suckers are huge.
They're so good. Oh my God.
You probably feed a family though.
It does feed a family. It does. We would take 2 of them and feed like our whole family.
How often do they lay?
Oh my gosh. Now I'm getting quizzed. But
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's curious. I should know. I think it's not every day, but it's pretty frequently because we would go and collect the eggs.
Yeah.
And then my brothers got really good at, the eggs are really thick, the shell.
Yeah.
Almost like a ceramic coffee cup.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thick.
Yeah.
And so they got really good at being able to drill out the bottom and clean and drain the eggs and then sell them to artists for painting.
Brilliant.
Yes, because a lot of the eggs that you see, fun fact, actually still have yolk in it. So if you knock that sucker off, it doesn't just destroy the art. There's actual like rotted egg yolk.
That's so gross.
I know. So next time you see like a painted ostrich egg, you're going to be like, did they clean this? Where's that? Like,
is there a big old rotten yolk in there? Gross.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Isn't
though.
that cool?
Well, and again, and being able to just like use anything and everything that you're producing on the farm. I think that's important too.
It is.
Well, and it's good to know that ostrich meat is good.
It is so good. It's kind of like, it's a lot better than like ground turkey even. You know how they substitute,
ground turkey's not
right?
Great.
No, this is like rich, almost like elk. It kind of has, I wouldn't say that flavor, but kind of that same level of more like a red. It does taste like a red meat. It doesn't taste like chicken or turkey.
Yeah. So your dad gave that a go for a little bit.
He did.
Then it didn't pan out the way you wanted to.
People feel bad eating ostrich. Apparently.
Yeah.
Those big pretty birds.
Yeah,
they're mean.
I was going to say they're mean, aren't they?
They're so mean.
Because chickens are little raptors. So I can only imagine that ostriches are just bigger raptors.
They are. Yeah. And they'll chase you. And they have these huge hook talons on their foot.
Oh, like literally raptors.
They'll literally like hook at you. And if you get too close, they'll grab your hand. And they actually pulled off my grandpa's thumb fingernail.
No.
I caught it. So yeah, they're vicious.
They're vicious. Okay. I wouldn't feel bad eating one then, I guess.
No. And their feathers are beautiful. So and then their leather is beautiful, can be made into bags.
I've had ostrich shoes.
And
they are beautiful.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah, and soft. Yeah. They're really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask.
Okay.
So then you must make a mean pecan pie.
I do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was going to say you can't be surrounded by pecans and not make a mean pecan pie.
I do.
It's my favorite.
But sadly, I did not learn to make a mean pecan pie till I was probably like 28, 29 years old.
But you did get there.
I did.
So
get
all
there.
is forgiven.
No. So I'm glad that this interview is a couple of years down the road. Or you would be like, You are a failed pecan farmer, child.
I would think differently of you.
I would think differently of you.
But you are the hit at Thanksgiving.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
And at Christmas, because I make a really mean, like turtle, like the caramel pecan turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do it all by hand, and I do like a specialty chocolate, and I do it all, and it's delicious with farm fresh.
Do you like to bake?
I love to bake and to cook. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Is that like we were just having this conversation with some other friends the other night. Is that like a love language thing? Is that just, it's what you enjoy? Is what is it about cooking and baking?
I think it's a twofold. I'd start with the love language. I find it obviously harder to cook if I'm just by myself. It's not as interesting or as much fun. It's more rewarding to get to talk it out with someone and share that with someone and be like, what did you like about it? What could we improve?
Oh, yeah.
But my whole family is very creative. We come from a very creative background, all of us. And so I also like the creative aspect of cooking and being able to come up with recipes and just create something that you can just throw together and feed people and have great conversation and good food. I just love that.
Well, and when you came in, where was everybody at? They were in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
Right? It's and that is like the gathering spot.
It is.
And so because I love to cook and bake too. And I don't have any formal training, right? It's mom and grandma, and I'm always doing stuff with them when I'm over at their place. And it's fun. Yeah. And I get to feed the family, and I don't know what I'm doing, but we have that ingredient and that ingredient. We will make something out of this. It's fun.
It is. Yeah. So the creative, right?
Yeah, the creative.
And then trying new recipes and just getting to share that. I got the honor and privilege, you'll hear me talk about from my childhood, our very good and dear friend, Gloria Landeros. And she is just a gem. And unfortunately, she passed in 2016, but she was like our family's right arm. I don't know how else to describe it. She took care of my grandma because my grandma had some pretty bad health issues. And so she was just a member of the family, kind of a stay-at-home caregiver is what she did. And then when my grandma passed, she was going to be kind of out of work. And my dad was like, oh, no, like you're part of our family. No. Yeah. So she became kind of our surrogate grandmother.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. And so she was over at our house every single day. She ended up cooking all the meals for us because she loved to cook.
Yeah.
And so I got to sit with her when you're talking about like sitting with, grandmas and moms. I got to sit with her and just watch how she would cook and just the techniques that she would use. Yeah. And she had this amazing way about her when she would cook, the way she would even lay things out with such love. And it really embodied if you really infuse love into your cooking because you care for the people, it really does change the flavor.
Yeah, it makes it taste better for sure.
So I got to watch her do that. And that's also probably where some of my love of cooking comes from.
That's so cool.
Yeah. In fact, this is going to sound so funny. And my siblings might try and come and get this bowl from me now that I'm admitting it.
I guess I'm cutting this one out.
No, they can deal with it. So, but it wasn't stealing. It was, taking something. Yeah. There's this, Family Dollar has those cheap ceramic bowls, sometimes like mixing bowls or whatever, right? Well, it was this blue mixing bowl that Gloria used for a majority of her cooking.
Yeah, that was the go-to.
It was just the go-to. And she was like, I don't know what it is about this bowl. I just like it. I can beat the hell out of it. And it doesn't
comes
break.
Back for more.
Yes. And she just loved the feel. It was the perfect size. So I can still to this day see her holding it in the crook of her arm and stirring her food. So out of all the things that I ended up kind of keeping was that.
You've got the bowl.
I got the bowl and the wooden spoon that she would use. And I'm not really normally much of a sentimental. I'm not really into material things and stuff. I'm actually pretty minimalist in my personal life. But for that, I was like, I could just, every time I see that bowl in my cabinet, I just see her.
Oh, and it's love that.
Cheap $5 bowl, but it's just the memory of seeing her.
Memory.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, my siblings better not come and try and get it.
If it ever disappears, we know one of them took it.
I know. I'll be like, Brandon, let's find them.
I will go with you.
You'll have fun. We'll all visit Texas and it'll be an excursion of the ceramic bowl.
Oh, that's too funny.
No.
So, and when did Gloria enter the picture?
I I really can't remember life without Gloria.
Oh, so she was there.
She was there for my whole life.
Okay, cool.
Because my grandma passed in 1994.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay.
I don't really remember how many years she was helping my grandma before then.
Yeah.
But I believe through the 80s. You were little, and
so Gloria was there.
She was there.
All of it. What a cool way to grow up.
It was the best.
And it just sounds so warm and connected and loving. What religion did you guys grow up?
So we grew up cradle Catholic. Okay. So our whole Ivy family, and then on my mom's side, it was, I believe my grandma on my mom's side was a convert to Catholicism. She actually did a deep study of religion before she converted.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting how she raised my mom and all her siblings. My mom's one of 9. Big families.
I was going to say big families. I'm like, there's got to be some Catholicism in here somewhere.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The normal question is, are you Catholic or Mormon?
Yep. It's one of the two.
It's just one of the two.
It's the competition to repopulate the planet.
I will tell you though, this young man threw me off 2 days ago because he mentioned something about, I come from a large family. I was like, oh, me too. I'm one of 7, which normally is pretty admirable.
Yeah, you're beating most people.
Not right. He went, I'm one of 17, full blood.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
That poor woman.
I know. And then I went, okay, Catholic or Mormon? And he goes, surprisingly neither. Non-denominational. I was like, oh,
wow.
You guys took the Bible multiply very serious.
Very seriously. Multiply and replenish the earth. Okay, we're on it. Got it. Wow, 17.
Yeah, a lot. I can't imagine.
No, and that's
good.
I'm a little flabbergasted by that number.
I was too, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, it just was normal for us.
Well, I mean, it is, right?
It is.
That's the thing is whatever you grow up in, that ends up being normal.
You're normal.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're Catholic. I still practice my faith. I love my faith. I've got deep roots in it. So my parents did a really good job educating us. My dad is ever the philosopher and studier. So he always pushed us to read, to be educated, to understand. So that was pretty amazing. And then obviously, if you're familiar with Catholicism at all, you go through a confirmation process, which is really when you take on the mantle of your own faith. Yeah. And that was probably where I really did an even deeper dive into what does Jill believe? Because you can grow up in something. And I think that my parents fostering some of that critical thinking was such a benefit because it gave us the opportunity to really deep dive into what do I believe? Okay, I've been taught these morals and these principles, but I think it's so important. And I don't have children. I'm not blessed with children, but just I have the opportunity to speak into some young people. And I look at it as I'm not trying to tell you what to think, just trying to show you can think.
You can.
Yes.
And you don't just have to take something at face value.
No.
And just deeper. Because this is what you were raised in or what you've been told, ask questions, research.
Yes.
Figure it out.
Because if you're standing on truth, then what are we afraid of?
Exactly. Amen. That is the best way to say it.
It is.
Well, and I love that your dad fostered that in you.
Yes.
What other passions did you have as a kid? Because if that's the guidance that you're getting from your parents, I would imagine that you explored all sorts of stuff.
Yes. So really very blessed to come from an incredibly creative family. And because of that, my dad fostered that creativity where sometimes and I mean no disrespect towards other farming families, but the Ivy family was very creative and pushed that, even though we were hardworking farm kids. Yeah. They didn't kind of look down on that, like, oh, that's effeminate or that's girly or that's arts aren't something you should be involved in. No, they actually were, I dare say, like Renaissance men. That was that's
the sense I'm getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they encouraged that. And I grew up in that culture, not just in my immediate family, but in my expanded family. So all of my cousins were like that. My uncles, my aunts, they were all well-rounded. Like it was hard work. It was education. It was arts. It was, you needed to be a whole person. Yes. So I grew up really interested in writing was probably the thing that to this day is still one of my biggest passions is writing. And so my dad would buy me like cassette tapes back then. And I would do little recordings on my little karaoke cassette machine and I would tell stories.
Love it.
So he really encouraged that. He did actually even buy me a laptop at kind of an earlier age, especially, not that I'm old, but growing up in the era, you and I are roughly the same age. So growing up in the era that we did, it was a little bit unusual, especially being homeschooled on a farm, to have a laptop younger, but he fostered that. And I saw him do that with all of us siblings. He fostered our interests and then let them die if they needed to. But for the most part, we just grew up, like my whole family, singing, writing, playing piano, poetry, art, photography, film, anything in the arts. We grew up.
Amazing.
Isn't it cool?
Well, and I like how you put that as well-rounded, right? Because you do need the ability to persevere, and that's hard work, right? Like you need to have that in your life.
You do.
Because if you want to get good at anything, it's going to require that skill.
It is.
The arts. What are we doing if we aren't enjoying the creativity that we naturally have in us? And so bounce around, figure out what makes your heart sing, and go do it. Education. You can never have enough education, right? Like, and I'm amazed at how many books there are, because I've thought about writing a book a time or two. I'm sure you probably have too.
I have.
Yeah.
You should do it. We'll collaborate.
Okay. That would be amazing. But I've definitely had that thought of, but this story's been told before. No, it hasn't. And just walk into any bookstore. Everybody has a story to tell, and you have something to learn from those stories.
Yes.
So you can never, whether it is something anecdotal or whatever, or it's something deeply researched, you're going to add something to your repertoire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you get to assess reality and do it. And so, go get education. I love that your parents fostered that.
They did.
That's amazing.
It is. And kind of unique because there were 7 of us. So we grew up pretty poor, honestly. I didn't know that until I was
It doesn't sound like it.
No. Because financially.
I was going to say, how do you measure that? And so you can measure it by the dollars in your bank account, but that sounds like the richest kind of life to be in.
It was. It felt like you were in a place of learning all the time.
Yeah.
So, and not to glamorize it, we obviously, severe struggles and stuff. And, teenagers, especially, as you know, as black sheep, I was a problem child. But I will say that it kind of gave us that love of education and learning without necessarily even labels. It helped us to learn from other people. We got to learn from our cousins, our uncles, our aunts, to sit with them at the feet of these people who are very studied, and to ask questions and to just grow in that and foster it. And to kind of your point, isn't that the whole reason you're doing this podcast, is you can learn so much from a story.
Oh, yeah.
And so that has been where my dad would always say this cute little phrase, Ivies can do anything.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. He's like, Ivies can do anything. And he's like, whatever you put your mind to, Ivies can do. And they didn't fill us up with obviously I'm short. I wouldn't have been good in women's basketball.
I was going to say, you're not playing for the WNBA?
No, right? No. So
Weird.
they didn't lie to us.
Yeah.
But my dad was like, no, these interests, you can do anything.
Yes.
And I don't mean to be demeaning of sports. I think that sports has a really important place of teamwork and physicality and all these other things that are important to learn. And even the athleticism of sports and the coordination and all that is very important. But my parents more focused on things that we could carry with us to old age.
Yeah.
Like piano. I play piano. I've been playing now, crazy to think, but for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy to think about that. Yeah. But I'm like, I can literally still do this skill for 30 years. If I had been heavily involved in volleyball, how much would I really be doing volleyball?
Right. Your knees
now?
wouldn't like you very much right now either. No.
And so again, I don't want to put sports down because I think sports is very important and has an important place. But I think that what my parents did so well is they fostered well-roundedness, because we were in swim, we were in karate, we were in these other activities that were active, not just academic, but they really were like, let's focus on things that you can take with you to an older age and not damage your bodies.
Brilliant.
Smart, right?
Yeah, very smart. Well, it's making me rethink everything that I'm doing as a parent. And not that I'm like, we're doing all sorts of sports stuff, but we're sitting here in the presence of my drum kit. And we've got a trombone, and we've got a really good violin, and we've got the piano downstairs, and we've got access to all sorts of stuff. And we have a really nice library. We've got art. I mean, we have all sorts of stuff. And it's so weird trying to raise kids now
Mm-hmm.
My dad and I were literally just talking about this before you got here. I was after I picked up pizza, I was on the phone with him, and he's like, "Yeah, we were outside all the time, like, and then you go do stuff with your friends and you get creative, and now, like, it's all electronics." I'm like,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter how much you try, unless you take them out of the house, they will find a way.
I know.
It's obnoxious.
And maybe taking them out isn't a bad idea. I grew up because we were poor, I grew up without any TV growing up, and we did not know. We had no television. We had no electronics. I mean, we were kind of in an era that didn't have a lot of that anyway, right? Yeah. But not even a TV in the house. Yeah. And I'll be honest, most of my siblings and I don't actually have TVs in our home. We just don't. I don't own a TV. I haven't owned a TV in 8 years. When I did own it, it was a gift from someone and it sat on a shelf and I hated how it looked. And so I finally was like, I'm really sorry you bought this for me. I'm selling it.
Oh, that's so funny. See, that's what I want. And when we moved over here, I got rid of all of our TVs.
Good, man.
I'm like, we're not doing this anymore. And then eventually one creeped its way back in.
There is something about family movie night. So
yeah, and we do love family movie night. Yeah, but it's a battle.
It is.
But I'm liking this inspiration though. I'm totally taking some of what your folks did, and I'm going to try and apply it. And see, and that's again, it is the reason why I do this.
It is.
Learn from others, take best habits and tips and tricks.
Yeah, and learn from life experiences and why did this person become a whole. I will say I'm actually probably I'm not even one of the most talented people in my family. And so people see me sometimes, but again, going back to this is just my normal.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at them and they're like, oh my God, you can sing, you can play piano, you can draw, you can do this. And I'm like, well, yeah. Doesn't everybody? And I kind of had to check myself because actually my younger sister is a better singer than me. She's better at drawing.
How?
She just is. And part of it is
unless I see it, I don't believe it.
I'll send you some clips and you'll be like, oh yeah. But it's her art. Like that's her career field. So that's also why she's completely dedicated to it. So it's not to say that if I maybe didn't have the same level of dedication that she has because I was pursuing it in a career that maybe I wouldn't be able to sing the same. But she is like, she sings opera, she sings Broadway, she sings rock. She's just incredible. And she taught herself to tap dance in like a couple months and play the ukulele. And she's a hard worker too.
That's why. Yeah.
But
you need all those pieces.
You do.
Because they complement one another.
They do. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So the thing for me though is recognizing, oh, okay, Jill, you kind of grew up in a unique situation.
Yeah.
My brother was reading like the Count of Monte Cristo at the age of like 12 or 13. Like
impressive because if nobody's ever read that book, he could go an entire chapter describing a tree. It's beautiful. I love that book, but very French.
Very.
Yes.
I did not have that urge the way my oldest brother did.
Oh,
so good,
I had to. Yeah, it's a good book. The unabridged version. Yeah. It's
I did that one. Yeah. I was like, I cannot do this like unabridged. I can only do the abridged. I'm sorry.
Side note, I think they're making a new movie. So for all you lazy people, you can get the movie version. But the book is good.
Okay. I have a secret to tell you on this.
Oh no.
Yes. I will go and read the end of the book to find out what's going on, and then I'll go back to
it. Jill, you're a cheat. I do that too.
Oh, yay. Yay. Everyone's always appalled. So I'm like, no. I just want to know. Is this worth my time?
Yeah. Exactly. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody just gave me a book and I was like, okay, I gotta know what the punchline is first. Yeah, what's the end like?
I got recommended to read this book, Where the Crawdads Sing, I think is the name of the book.
I've heard of that book.
Okay, so I was reading it in the bookstore. I was reading the first chapter or two, and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. The writing style I actually did like the writing style.
Yeah.
So I was kind of reading it, and then I did what I normally do, and I skimmed, and I kind of skimmed to the middle and then skimmed to the end, and I was like, it ends like that? Nope.
Not wasting my time. Yeah. I have other things to do.
Yeah, I know. It is so bad.
Okay, so here's a weird question on that because I like that you read the first little bit first too. Mm-hmm. That helps because I like being able to. I'm really good at figuring out what's going to happen way early on. Mm-hmm. Would you do that with your life? If you could take a sneak peek at how does it end, would you?
Oh, that is a deep question. I mean, ironically, I would say no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I don't think I would either. I like doing it on other people's stories, but mine, I don't want to know.
That is interesting.
I want to work my way there. I want to get there.
Well, and you bring up an interesting thought. I probably would be like, well, do you want to see how Brandon's life ends? I'd probably be like, sure.
See?
I would be like, but my own, I would be like, no, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That is kind of a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay. Weird. Okay, I have so many weird things, but let's keep going chronologically here because I'm picking up bits and pieces that we're going to deep dive on. You said black sheep a couple times, and then you specifically referred to your teenage years as that too. What did you do?
I mean, as far as actually being the black sheep, I was pretty good. I just, more than anything, I got really rebellious.
Okay.
But
I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
It is. It really is.
Like biologically, we're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think probably it was a bit more shocking because of the stark difference between me and my older sister. I think that's where, so some of it, without sounding critical of my parents, was they kind of were suddenly like, we don't know what to do with this girl. Because my older sister is one of the sweetest, mellow, easy going people. And she's brilliant and smart and quiet and was reading books at the age of 4. And so my dad could like look at her if she was just barely out of line and she'd be sobbing her eyes out, begging for forgiveness because she didn't want to disappoint dad.
It's my favorite superpower, by the way, the dad glare.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Didn't work on you though.
Oh, I would be like, he's mad. Should I do it more? Just a little bit always kind of poking the buttons, pushing the line, challenging authority. So I think
another theme that I think I've noticed running through. Yes. Okay, good.
So I think the biggest blessing was that we did live on a farm and it was rural. And I think that God really helped me out with that because I think if I had been a city kid, I would have been getting into all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were still in a very good setting to let you blossom, even if you wanted to be a little rebellious in the process.
So, and I can honestly, genuinely say I never did anything horrible because my parents did raise us to be good kids. But I actually would say that that was pretty situational too. There wasn't a lot of trouble you could get into where I was, and with how many kids we had, limited access to vehicles, things like that. But I would still go off quite a bit on the farm and like kind of disappear for hours on end. And like,
sounds like a fun thing to do. Actually,
it was so fun.
Yeah,
it was, but dangerous because there is a lot of border activity. And growing up as a kid, as much as it sounds amazing, and it was, there was still a lot of drug activity on the farms. And then as I started to get older, human trafficking became a huge problem. We would literally see hordes of people getting trafficked through our particular farmland pretty daily for a while.
Wow.
So it became what was this really kind of like warm and kind of safe environment. Even as I started to get older, it became more precarious and more dangerous. And you kind of lived a little bit in a state of awareness, even always growing up. I'm sure like kids in urban, kind of lower urban areas probably have a similar feeling. Like, they can go and play in the streets and they can go do that, but you need to be aware of what's happening. There would be similar things like that. And we would be walking sometimes and you would see a ditch full of grown men. You know, when I was just 12, 13, walking the farm, and all of a sudden I'd be like, oh boy. And they'd be armed with guns and some of them drugs. And it was just, you just would stumble upon it on your own property.
What do you do?
You just keep walking and turn back around and just hope that they don't follow.
Ooh.
So that.
Did you guys ever have any close brushes with?
Yeah. We did. We had some close brushes. We had a member of a drug cartel, I don't even remember the name, like threatened my dad and actually like stuff a vehicle full of like cocaine as a message, and basically was like, back off or we're coming for you. And there were some stories of, and people we knew of, like neighbors that had gotten kidnapped, threatened.
Yeah.
We even had one of my cousins almost get like kidnapped off of our trampoline.
Jeez.
And so they like were trying to grab for her, and she wasn't from El Paso. She was visiting from Austin.
Oh, she's going back to Austin and never coming back.
I know. And so we were kind of like, oh, no, what are you doing? And so we just reacted normally for us, which was snatching her. Like, you don't go to strange cars. And she's like, well, yes, you do. They're neighbors. Like, because she was from, neighborhood in Austin that was safe. And we had grown up on the border where they really did kidnap people and there's that drug activity. So it was a little bit, that was sometimes a little interesting again, right? But that was my normal.
Yeah.
To then exit out and be like, oh, or like,
not normal.
No.
Nope.
No.
Nope, not at all.
So yeah, it's interesting to think back because El Paso actually was always pretty safe. There's some interesting reasons why that it's safe, and you can do some research on that. But
well, and I was going to ask and I know because we have a lot of politics to talk.
We do.
Is there a border wall? Is there you've got the Rio Grande right there. So like don't even know how that would work, but okay. So maybe I'll just do the research. We'll save that.
I'm laughing because the Rio Grande it's in Spanish means the like big river, Grand River.
And it's not.
Oh my gosh. No, there's like maybe puddles here or there because it's dry.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually create any sort of barrier for people to come across. And then under, was it Bush? Yeah, it was Bush. They started to build the border fence.
Yeah.
So that was helping initially, but then they never finished the project. So that
seems to be the theme.
I know. I don't understand that because what it did was it decimated the farmland on our side because it funneled them through the gap that didn't get closed. So about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down from my parents. So you can actually see a border fence, but they didn't finish it 1.5 miles down. So it just funneled all this illegal activity.
Oh no.
1.5 miles down the road.
And that farm just got
decimated. And then they had a couple spots like that all along the border. And the Mexican towns across from there also got decimated because the drug cartels came in and took a hold.
Oh, that's awful.
So it just
the
created
unintended consequences of, there's a lot there.
Yes.
But that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That's so sad.
It is sad. So there is some fence through El Paso. You can see it. It's called the Border Highway, and it's a fence that along there. But there's gaps. It's never been finished. And so if you're going to do something, they should have just built the fence and finished it. Although there's also kind of this conversation that the Border Patrol too could also help if they stayed along the levee.
Right.
That would also be more helpful, but sometimes they're instructed to sit back.
Yep.
And
depending on the administration and the goals and all the things.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so then they're chasing, and I'm meaning no disrespect to Border Patrol agents, but they're chasing people now through our farmland.
Right.
And wrecking our crops because as pecan farmers, the nuts actually fall on the floor of the trees. So like that's where they land. That's where we sweep them up and they're running them over. And they're trying to capture these people and do their job, but they're destroying our crops, and it just creates this animosity. But I think some of it is purposeful. Some of it I think is unintended consequences.
Right.
Some of it is just incompetence at the administrative level. So it's kind of a multifaceted problem, but it was very interesting growing up.
Yeah.
Kind of knowing some of the drug things taking place, and you just kind of grew up in that. It's funny. It's a little funny to go back now and kind of be like, that was just my normal.
Right. Yeah, that is. And I mean, we adapt to our environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're growing up in that, you don't know any different. And so it is normal.
Yeah.
My dad grew up downtown Portland.
Okay.
And clearly it's changed, right? All the major cities have gotten worse.
They have.
But it's still a major city, right? And so just the weird dangers that he had to deal with and gang activity seems to be my mom lives up in Mount Vernon in Podunk, whatever. There's gang activity up there. You can't get away from gang activity.
No.
It just has a different impact on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so we're going to come back to that because I have a feeling that ties into how you ended up going where you went. Okay, so teenage years, a little rebellious, but nothing too crazy.
No.
Good student?
No.
No. With all that though, I would have thought, well, did you guys homeschool?
Yes.
Oh, so what's your version of not being a good student? Because you did all the thing. Like you're ahead of most people in certainly public school.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
I gave my mom help.
I was going to say, was she F? Jill gets an F. Go to your room. Be terrible if teachers could actually do that. Yeah, you're grounded.
Yeah. I have a hard time sitting still, if you can believe that.
No. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And I think a little bit of it came from, I just was different. It was hard. I was hard for my parents.
Okay.
And
yeah.
like my sister, again, ever the student, very studious.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I came along and I was like, well, I don't want to sit here. Why should I sit here?
Uh-huh.
Why am I sitting here so long?
Uh-huh.
This seems too long to be sitting here. Like,
do I really need to learn this?
I know. Or
did you do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. And then even sometimes I was such a brat, and sorry, Mom, if you hear this, but I was such a brat. And sometimes I would actually go study something completely different. Like my mom would be like, okay, this year we're going to learn like Egyptian history.
Okay.
And I actually really love Egyptian history, but
Yeah.
I got so pissed that she told me I was going to learn Egyptian history. So instead I would sneak in a Roman history book with the Egyptian cover and be like, meh, I'm not learning what you told me. So then I'm like failing.
You just like went up a couple pegs in my mind, by the way, because I mean, Roman history is kind of important.
It is.
And the Egyptian official narrative is a bunch of bunk anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah. So yeah, your mom was wrong.
I did say sorry, Mom. So stuff like that. So that's where I said I was not a good student because
but you were still you were still seeking out information.
I was always.
But somebody's telling you what to do. You push back on that.
That's the biggest thing you'll hear because I'm actually I love to learn. I'm an avid learner.
Yes.
I love to learn. I learn so much from people I even mentor. I was doing some mentorship with a young woman she's my mentee. And I was sitting there and we were talking about this problem. And out of nowhere, she said something that she had kind of come to this conclusion. And it was like, oh, whoa, I learned so much from her.
Cool.
It's so cool. So I am an avid learner and I love to learn. I love history is probably my favorite subject.
Yeah.
So I just love to just be a little troublemaker. And so that's why I was not the best student. I did get good grades when I really, I mean, it was okay. Compared to my sister, definitely not. My sister was straight A student the whole way. And I was probably like pretty happy with C's and B's. And I was like, whatever.
That was me too.
I know. It was just like, meh. And then my parents, talked about college as I got closer to that,
I was wondering.
Yeah, age. And I honestly was like, hell no.
No.
Yeah.
No, I would have thought that would have been something that your parents tried to foster was, go to college. Were they not necessarily that way?
No.
Or no? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. They actually really pushed on us that learning is not, you're never done. You're never done learning. And so they didn't discourage us from going to college, but they also stressed that Ivies can do anything and labels.
That's such a good thing to instill in your kids. Ivies can do anything.
Yes.
I love that.
And so it enabled this ability to say, I'm not a title. I'm not a label.
Right.
Neither of my parents graduated college. My two younger siblings did. They went to college and they graduated and they're brilliant. And I think that higher education is awesome as well. I think there's a lot of problems in a lot of higher education.
There's a lot of problems in there's a lot of problems in all of education.
All of education.
Structured education. Yeah.
And so that was a little bit what they also fostered was they were like, make sure you're actually getting real education and not indoctrination.
Yes.
And that was their big concern with seeking out higher education is there is a lot of indoctrination that takes place at these universities. We're seeing it play out on a national stage. We're seeing it play out in the local. We're seeing that education has been corrupted. We're seeing the levels of someone who's homeschooled. And I have two families. One of them is homeschooled. She is 9 years old and she's read every single Anne of Green Gables book. She has read The Lord of the Rings. She's read all of Narnia. She does multiplication. She does division. She's 8. And then I had this other young girl, brilliant. They're both just as brilliant, both of these girls. She's barely reading like chapter books.
Yeah.
She is barely doing like subtraction and addition, right? And I'm like,
which one's in public school and which one's getting homeschooled?
Yes. And so I'm not saying that homeschooling's the only way, because it's not, because there are some people that did homeschooling negatively and it created social awkwardness in their children. Yep. I don't know how to say it nicely. It's just the truth.
It's the truth.
So my parents did a good job of getting us into outside activities around other people to help us with those social interactions we were missing. But I will say that with the education, my parents didn't foster us that we had to go to college because they were pretty adamant that you can learn like in apprenticeships from all these people. I mean, if you think about it, even our founding fathers, a lot of them were book educated.
Yes.
So my dad always stressed, if you're a reader, you're a learner.
Yeah. And a leader.
You are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're both.
You are.
Yep.
So that was a huge blessing. So they didn't push it on us. They certainly didn't try and put barriers up. They did on some colleges. They were like, if you are going to go, you're not going here. Sorry.
Yeah. This is not happening.
We're not helping you pay for you to be told what to think.
Yeah. No. So then what was the plan coming out of teen years? What happened? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
I wish I'd had a bit more of a plan, but I just knew I wanted to move, meaning like just move with my life, not move. I didn't really want to move from El Paso. It was just, I wanted to see what's behind door number 2. And my brother is an incredible musician and songwriter.
Cool.
And he's like, you know what? We're only young once. He's like, you're a great singer, great piano player. He's like, why don't you and Jessica, my older sister, join me in my band and let's tour?
Cool. I love that.
So it's crazy. I went right out of, I graduated, and pretty much that year we cut our first record.
Cool.
It was really cool. And we live next to a world-renowned recording studio called Sonic Ranch Studios.
Oh yeah.
You should.
I don't know why I didn't make that connection earlier.
Yeah. Gorgeous. If you haven't gone on their website and like you can look at their studios, you will literally be like, this looks like the coolest LA, New York recording studios in the world. Yeah. They have like a Neve board that's like old school.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And they have the Hammond organ set up in full grand pianos and just amazing environment.
Kid in a candy shop.
Completely.
As a musician.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
that's where you cut your first record?
That is. I know. Jelly.
A little jealous.
Yeah.
Just a little jealous.
Yeah.
Do you still have copies? Is it still available?
It is. It's available on like Amazon. You can also order some.
How do we find it?
It would be under the band name The Ivies. So EYS. And the first album that we ever did was called The Ivies.
Self-titled debut album.
Yes.
That's so good.
So I would say if you get a chance, the last album that I was on was called Jenna's Song. So my younger sister is named Jenna, and my brother dedicated the whole album to her because they have a really close friendship. They're really close.
That's so sweet.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
And my kid sister is so obnoxious and so lovable all the same time. So it makes she'll punch sibling. You, and then you're like, thank you for punching me. I needed that. Like, she's just awesome. Very unique, incredible person. All of my siblings really are, honestly. I could go on about them for days because they're just each such beautiful, unique pieces of art. But
that's such a cool way to describe them.
They are.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. They're so intricate. All humans are, I think, though.
Yeah.
That's what I've really, and I'll get back to answering about the album, but this last year and a half, I've really discovered the beauty of people. I've always loved people. I've especially always had a knack with kids. And it was this last year and a half, I realized, going through some personal struggles myself, that we're all just kids in big bodies.
Yeah. Were we just talking about this? Because I've been telling everybody this. I'm like, everybody's just their kids in adult skins.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. We were talking. That was when we were like, we needed 3 hours. And
Oh,
you're like,
that's right.
I'll continue this on the podcast.
Yeah. Here it is.
So I think that when I realized that, it's kind of like, oh, who is this amazing creation? What's unique about them? What do they like? Why do they like this young man? He's really only 9 and he's best friends with this little girl, Vella, that I do a lot of babysitting for. And I'm like, why does he love the army? Like, he's obsessed. He's like, I will be in the army. I will fly helicopters.
Whoa.
And he just knows. He's like,
just knows.
I will do this. And I'm like, cool. Like, he is so focused.
At 9.
And I'm like, okay, well, why? And we're like having these conversations, but humans, adults are the same. They're so interesting.
Yes.
It's like, why? They're beautiful creations. And then we get damaged and bruised and thrown in the back of a pickup truck without a cover. And then you're like, oh, here, let me dust you off, beautiful piece of art.
That's exactly what that is.
It is.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, and what makes me sad is when people take the bad things that happen to them as defining.
Mm-hmm.
And no, like, you are still that beautiful piece of art, right? You are this unique thing that God created.
Yes.
And loves you. And so maybe have a little bit of love for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's one of my hopes with this podcast is that people start to recognize that in themselves by hearing everybody's stories and going, oh, they had something weird and they had this, and oh, it is all beautiful. And so I'm curious, you said that was over the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah.
What made that shift?
So, unfortunately, I'm going through a divorce, which you never, in my opinion, if you're really serious about that commitment, you never get married to go through a divorce.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit of an identity crisis of, is this really happening? Is this really where this is going? Owning my own mistakes in that process while recognizing his, I think, was what gave me this ability to say, you know, we are these complicated pieces.
Yeah.
And there really should be no judgment. And probably feeling from some of my very close friends, that feeling of not being judged for something so negative happening to me.
Oh.
And me choosing that finally, choosing to step forward and initiate the divorce was kind of interesting to not have judgment. And it made me want to make sure that I don't pass judgment on to others.
Yeah.
And it's kind of when this concept of recognizing that we're all just kids in big bodies.
Just kids in big
because
bodies.
I don't judge kids. When I saw I was at this class with Vella. I got to come over her lunch break. They asked if I would come. Yeah. So I got to spend about an hour and a half with her whole class.
Oh, that had to be a blast.
I loved it. It was so much fun. And like at one point, one of the kids literally picked up a rock and threw it at the other kid, like angry, not playing, super angry. And I was just looking at that, and he hit the other kid's crying. And then I see this other kid purposely shove this little girl, right? And like, because he was mad at her for taking his toy. And it's all these little interactions. Yeah. But what was interesting was immediately I went over and was like, guys, you shouldn't do that. And immediately they were regretful, remorseful. Yeah. They really said they were sorry. And both these young people just let it go.
Oh.
They were like, oh, okay. You apologized. You meant it. And they meant it.
That's
right?
So cool.
Isn't it cool? And so I kind of was like, oh, wow. Like they didn't continue to carry on that grudge or that judgment.
Yeah.
And I didn't judge them. I was like, I kind of see why that kid threw that rock at him.
Yeah.
He was kind of being a little jerk. I'm trying to watch my mouth here. So
you don't have to. I'll slap the explicit label on this one.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was when I started to recognize like having empathy. We all make bad choices at some point.
Yeah.
We all have scars.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I will say giving others grace, because they're going to probably beat themselves up for those scars and those injuries that they've incurred way more than you are. And so why would you add to it? You just want to help them get out of it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So walk with them.
Yeah. Well, and we want grace extended to us, so why wouldn't we extend it to others?
Yes.
It's very, in my experience, it's very rare that somebody is doing something malicious with that intent, right? We take it as, well, I can't believe he threw the rock at me. But you were being a little brat, right? Or whatever the thing is.
Yes.
It's like very rarely is somebody, unless you're like a psychopath or something, nobody's going out just to hurt people.
No.
And so they were doing the best they could with the knowledge and the scenario that they had.
Right.
And that's why that's one of my favorite, I come back to love God, love each other.
Yes.
And don't judge. And you said that earlier about not judging. And I was curious, were you applying that to yourself too? It sounded like, because, and the reason I asked that is because, we have these standards for ourselves. You don't do this thing. And then a situation comes up where, oh, wait, I might actually have to do this thing. Oh, okay. Well, before that would have always been a hard line for me, but I might actually have to cross that line. Other people have had to do this before too. Oh, I don't want to be judged in this situation. I've got to give myself some grace, because otherwise I would have judged myself through this process. Oh, maybe love's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I wanted to see if I was hearing what you were saying.
No, that's right. Love is the answer.
Yeah.
And we are even called to love ourselves, because I don't think if you don't love and appreciate who you are, then how can you really love and appreciate someone else?
Right.
And there have been moments in my life, in particular in the current political field I'm in now, where I have defaulted to someone that honestly I can say, oh, I like her.
Yeah.
I like that person.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. And it has been moments where it's been like a hard line of, no, this is my moral.
Yeah.
I don't care if this loses me the race. I don't care if this loses me the donor. I don't care if this makes me lose my job or credibility in this community. I know what's right, and I'm not moving.
Yeah.
And try and hurt me, but I have to look myself in the mirror.
Yes.
And I've defaulted to that person a couple times, and I look at that and say, oh, I would be so proud if that was my friend standing there.
Yeah.
And I've seen my friends do that. I have to extend that same level to myself. And then there's been other times I responded very negatively.
Yeah.
And I had to also say, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that attitude. But I think when I see something that I've done well, I say I like that person as a whole, because it's a goodness. And I believe that we are all, made in the image of God, and we have this desire to be good and to be people of truth. But when I do something bad, I really have tried hard to scrub out, oh, I was a bad person. Instead say, that was a bad behavior.
Yeah.
Or I did a bad thing, or I made a bad mistake.
Yeah.
Because I never would look at Brandon and go, you're a bad person. But I would say, Brandon, you're a good person. Because you are. As a whole, you're a good person. But an action, like if you all of a sudden pitched your, phone at me, something at me, I might be like, that was a bad behavior.
Yes.
That was a bad action.
Yeah.
I don't like you did that. But I wouldn't go, you're a bad person.
Right. Although you do that enough times, then you might set a firm boundary there, and I'm not hanging out with that person until they figure out how to be good.
Yes. So there's boundaries to it. But I think as long as you can see that person or yourself, you're trying to be the best person you can be, we're ultimately always going to fail and ultimately always make mistakes and misstep. So.
Well, and I like how you put that end of the day, you live with you, right? You got to deal with yourself. And so are you becoming a person that you like?
Yeah.
And, oh, that was an action that does reflect the person that I want to be. Or, oh, that was an action that doesn't reflect the person that I want to be. I can correct course. I can do something about that. But that bad thing isn't going to define me. Right.
Exactly.
Back to that point. That's a great way of looking at it.
It's been helpful.
Yeah.
And I think it has helped me love deeper, appreciate people more, be able to see the multifacetedness of people and be like, okay, I mean, I know you can play drums. I know, you're a banker. I know you have a great family. I know some of your background and your history, but I'm still getting to know you.
Right.
And through all the little like extra brush strokes that I'm really starting to appreciate and see, I'm like, oh my God, he's so cool here. And even meeting your kids today was a new dimension, right?
Oh yeah. I don't know if that's the best dimension. No, actually, I love my kids. My kids are the best part of me.
Yeah.
Well, and that was like when I had no idea. You had probably said it earlier, and I don't know how I missed it, but when my recollection of you first revealing that you sang and played piano, I'm like, what? That's amazing. Oh, and you're like spectacular at it. That's amazing. And there's just, I love when you start, I love that you said brush strokes, right? Because I mean, that's kind of this, right? Like,
it is.
Okay, here's the person, but what are all the brush strokes that make that person them?
The layers. If you think about painting and you think about, I mean, even layering an album, right? You're a professional musician. You hear in the studio, it's so fascinating because my favorite time was being in the studio. So it's
a blast.
I'll circle back to that.
Album. Nice. Good pullback. That's amazing.
So I did tell you I like stories. So to the album, so like Jenna's song probably is my favorite. If I had to recommend an album that I was on
from the Ivies,
that would be the one. I think it's a 14 track and we loved it. It was my siblings and I got in there and I got really good at being a studio musician.
Yeah.
And so my sister is a much better piano player than I am. I'm a good piano player. She's better.
I think you're just being humble a lot.
No, it's actually that is actually true because she was more studied and she loved it more than I did.
Okay.
But I'm a better keyboardist than she is.
Okay.
Because it forced me, because we both played piano and she was better. And I was like, you're just better. She cared more about the classical than I did.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of got lazy and I learned by ear a lot better than.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I know. It's like a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation.
It's very true.
But she was phenomenal at like the very technique. Like this is why I say she's good. She literally got her like takes done in 3 takes.
No.
Front to back. She just played the whole thing front to back 3 times. And we had a producer, a high-end like producer, go, I don't know why we would do it again.
That's insane.
So that's what I'm up against. Okay. So.
Okay. My mind, I'm going to have to go pick my brain up somewhere because it just got blown. That's crazy. Okay. All right.
So.
She's good.
She's good.
She's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is a lot of the hours that she spent behind the scenes to save money on the studio. So I'll give her credit that her work ethic all of our work ethic is really high.
Yeah.
But for me, it forced me into being this awesome keyboard player. So I got to do the organ. I did the violin
you were playing
arrangements.
On the Hammond? Yeah.
I know. And so I got to do all the extras.
That's
nobody
fun.
really hears, but I can hear it when I listen to the album.
Yeah. And that's what adds all those extra brush strokes, right? Like it's just, it gives depth and it just brings it to life.
It does.
Yeah.
And to be able to be like, oh, I kind of was that last little stroke that changed it from this to that.
Yeah.
I loved that part of it. So with anything, I've started to look at people as that multi-layered piece because when you just look at an album or listen to a song, it's easy to hear the guitar, the piano, the drums, whatever, the main instruments, but it's the nuances. Or all of a sudden you notice this really cool backup harmony you didn't pay attention to. And it just, the dimension is so much more, it just has such bigger depth.
Yeah, it is true.
So that was what started me a little bit on the journey of like, what is actually under the surface? Because I never would have known that really until that album that I started to really recognize the depth in songs.
Yeah.
So what else aren't we seeing?
Oh, that's that. If people could just keep that phrase right there, top of mind when they're interacting with other people, I think we'd be in a much better world.
We would.
Yeah. And genuine curiosity, right? Like what else is under there? What have we got going on? Let's find out.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think it's not that we don't have hard decisions we have to make in our daily lives, or sometimes in difficult lines of work. I mean, even sometimes in my line of work, it can be a little bit harsh. There can be a harshness there that has to happen because, like, if you're on a football field, right, you're not going to be sitting there as the coach of the other team going, oh, but think about what little Johnny over there might be going through. You're like, crush him on the field, right?
Right.
Like,
flatten him.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about that kid, Johnny, might have, be raised in a single parent home, who's maybe even his single parent is an alcoholic, barely making it by. You're not going to think about his story. You're going to think about crush him on the field, right? So there is that level of competitiveness that you just can't avoid. But giving simple grace and simple love in the small things. Like, I was getting checked out, and I was kind of having a shit day. I just was. It was a long day. It was a hard day, dealing with just all these different things in my work balance and then personal life. And it just was like, oh my gosh, just don't even want to be at the grocery store.
No.
Right? I know. So it was awful.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to be here. But the cashier behind there, I was like, okay, she probably doesn't want to be here either because it was late. It's like 11 o'clock.
Yeah. It's a good
and I
point.
looked at her and I was like, you probably hate working the night shift, don't you? She was like, yeah, I'm really tired. And I was like, oh, me too. And she goes, really? I was like, yeah, but you still look really beautiful. I was like,
oh,
you just
that
look
was so nice.
And she did. She was so pretty. She'd taken time to do her hair. Yeah. Like, she knew she was going to work the night shift, and she still took time to present herself professionally at a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right.
Did she light up as soon as you said that to her?
As soon as I said it.
Yeah.
And she started crying. She said, I just really needed to hear that today.
Oh.
And she's like, I've been trying to make sure that I'm representing myself well. I said, oh, sweetheart, you are. She couldn't have been more than 19. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, you are. You're representing yourself great. And here's something, you're going to get me a little bit on a tangent here.
Yes.
Part of the reason why my compliment meant something is because I was also put together. I'm not saying that we should be vain.
Yep.
I am not saying that. I mean, you can see my nails, not you on the podcast, but I have like tomboy nails. I just don't really like getting my nails done. I don't. But like, I'm not always like 100% put together.
Although they do look lovely for not.
I know.
Didn't do something
don't look
crazy.
Close. I was like, don't look closer. But the thing is that there is a level of being put together.
Yes.
Without being obsessed with vanity.
Yes.
You can go too far, but
do you take care of yourself?
Yes.
There is a very clear distinction between somebody that's just a slob.
Yes.
And and it doesn't have to be manicured nails and paint, all that other stuff.
No.
You don't have to go to the salon and spend hours getting your hair done. Do you take care of yourself?
Yes. Are you showered? Do you have, even when I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans, and I'll even tie this back to my parents, but even a t-shirt and jeans, I'm put together. Yeah. Like, you're put together right now. You're not a slob.
I am not matching you,
you're not.
By the way.
You're not.
No, I'm not. When I came out and I'm like, oh, she got nice and I did not.
You want to know what's really funny? Was I actually literally almost put on jeans and a t-shirt because that's my favorite thing to wear.
Oh.
And I was like, no. And then I realized I'd found this at a thrift shop and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try the pretty new thing.
You look lovely. And so I'm sorry I didn't dress up enough to match.
You're fine. But it's just being put together though. Like, your shirt doesn't have holes in it. There's not stains on it. It's even just those subtle things. Cause honestly, on the weekends, I am honestly a baseball cap, shorts and t-shirt girl. Yeah. But it's like being coordinated. My baseball cap doesn't look like I've worn it 1,000 times and it's disgusting. It's just those levels of professionalism. And my parents instilled that in me. My mom did a great job because I was such a tomboy. I hated wearing dresses. I hated wearing like feminine stuff. I just didn't like it. Yeah. Not your jam. My mom just taught me this ability to say, no, you can, on the farm, you can wear whatever, jeans and whatever. You're hardworking. You're doing that. That's fine. But you will know how to dress. You will know how to present as a lady. Yeah. You will know how to walk in high heels. She's like, it doesn't mean that heels, I mean, they're kind of impractical when you really think about high heels. Impractical. Just like ties. You're literally putting a noose around your neck and telling people, literally, here, have a leash and a noose to choke me.
That's exactly what.
And I've never worn a tie, but I'm assuming it feels like someone's choking.
The day I no longer had to wear a tie at work, I was thrilled. And I've never, and I tie a very nice tie and I've got some nice ties, but if I don't have to wear a tie, I ain't wearing a tie.
No. So, but if I invited you to a gala.
Oh,
you would absolutely wear your tie. You would dress to the occasion. And that's what my mom did really, really well for all of us kids. She was like, look, and maybe you even break the rules. Maybe you don't wear a formal to this gala, but I want you to know that you're breaking a rule. Not be there because you were ignorant and then uncomfortable.
Yes.
So she really stressed that. And I think the professionalism I'm starting to see in some of the younger people, I've been trying to encourage it because you should be put together. You should be presenting well at a job. And in fact, because I presented so well in my business, my company, my wedding photography, I got the opportunity to work with some other amazing businesses that I really had no right working on. I mean, I was a photographer, a wedding photographer. And yes, I managed my own company and I did that. But honestly, because I presented so professionally and to put together, this gentleman took a chance on me and threw me into marketing and consulting. And I literally went into the job interview like, don't hire me. You shouldn't hire me. And they're like, well, just answer some questions. And I did. And they asked some creative thoughts and I did. And I was like, yeah, but don't hire me. Like I don't have any of this knowledge. And they were like, well, you just present really well and you present yourself professionally and you handled this well, even all the pivots and so I think there's like, it's just something I'm really passionate about. It's not for even for anybody else. It just helps you know that you are putting your best foot forward.
Yes.
Not in I hate seeing sweatpants out in public.
It's the worst. Or pajamas. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Why are we wearing pajama pants in public?
Like the Grinch Christmas pajama pants. I saw them yesterday.
Yes. Those might be the worst.
They are.
And like, do those just get randomly dropped off at people's houses? Like, because how are there that many pairs of those
Where did
out
they come
there?
from?
I have no.
The Grinch?
The Grinch. I don't get it. I don't understand. Oh gosh. That is, all of that is so interesting. Well, and I'm going to tie it back to the college piece too, because I like that your mom wanted you to learn the rules so that you could like know how to break the rules if you're going to break them, because it's true. That does make you more comfortable because you're intentional about it.
You are.
But you can still, it's the college piece, right? Like, I don't want the person that's just got a degree.
No.
That a lot of people, oh no, they have to because it shows that they can dedicate themselves. No, it shows that they can sit their butts in a classroom and regurgitate exactly what you want them to regurgitate. If that's the kind of employee that you want, have at it.
Exactly.
Useless. I want the critical thinker. I want the person that asks questions and really thinks through what they're doing and presents themselves well.
Mm-hmm.
When you were walking into a scenario, and it could be working at the grocery store at 11 o'clock at night. It could be going to a gala. It could be, name the thing. You need to show up and put your best foot forward, because that's right. It is all the brush strokes, and we got to get to know people, all the layers of them and all those things. But you can judge a book by its cover.
You can.
And if you're showing up to this thing in Grinch pajamas, I'm going to assume some things about you.
Yeah. And they're probably not inaccurate.
They're probably not inaccurate.
And it also shows, it was an interesting concept that my mom really did teach us, because you can judge a book by its cover in some instances like that, to be like, okay, why?
Yeah.
But then in other instances, my mom did a good job of also saying, but do your best to not be judgmental. Because we had a gentleman that we knew that was extremely, extremely well off, did not ever dress professionally. He just did not. It was his look. And people would sometimes be really, really disrespectful to him because of how he was dressed. Yeah. They would treat him poorly. So my mom and my dad did a good job of saying, you never know who someone is, but even if they aren't someone, it doesn't matter. Like, treat the staff nice, treat the girl in Grinch pajamas nice, but they're still also...
You eye rolled that. I don't think she means it. I'm kidding. I know you mean it.
I sort of mean it. I did go... I do mean treat them nice.
Yes.
But I never lie to them. In fact, I did go up to a young woman one time, and she was not dressed appropriately, and you could just see she was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it was because it was at a gala and she wore a club dress.
Ah, yes.
And she thought she was going to have fun wearing a club dress, and she wasn't, because
she stood out like a sore thumb and was clearly misdressed.
She was. Yeah. So I did go up to her, and I didn't make her feel bad. That wasn't my intention. And it actually worked out great, because I looked at her, I said, sweetheart, I was like, you are so much more beautiful than just showing skin.
Yep.
And I was like, and I know you feel uncomfortable and I'm really, really sorry that nobody said anything to you sooner. And I was like, but if you ever want to talk about like what to wear, how to wear it, that's honestly that was part of my job being political consultant, was to help dress the candidate. Right?
Oh yeah.
They always would check with me. So I was like, I can help you. I can help you. And she took it really well. And I was like, but I think I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound, but I think you learned a lesson tonight that you can still be so beautiful and not have to expose everything. And so it was a really good conversation. It was a little more in depth than that, but I think going to knowing how to put your best foot forward. And my mom taught me being like the breaking of the rules. I broke a rule. I went to a gala and I wore a jumpsuit, like a sparkle jumpsuit.
Oh,
it was really cute.
Yeah, but that could totally work.
It did.
Yeah.
And I partly did that because the table I was sitting at I knew they were only going to be in like more business casual.
Yeah.
I knew just based on who they were that they weren't going to be in the full suit.
Right.
So if I showed up in my ball gown, I would have honestly embarrassed the table that had invited me.
Right.
So that's kind of where my mom did a good job of like, know the rules, but then know how to break them where you're still representing yourself well, but you're not insulting your host.
Right. Well, and there's nothing worse than not following the rules, but not because you don't understand the whys behind all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because once you understand the whys, then it's like, okay, so they do it this way, but you can show up exactly like that and you still look classy, and you make the rest of the table comfortable, and it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
And so, you need to know how to do that.
You just do.
Yeah. Which comes with experience.
It does.
Yeah.
And I guess a piece of advice that I got that has always stuck with me is if you see someone conducting themselves in a way in a room that you respect, go and talk to them.
Yes.
And ask for their insight.
Yeah.
Where did they learn that? Would they help you learn that? Those are some really like just simple ways that I've grown so much in this last year and a half, is paying more attention to, and I'll totally brag on you. Part of why I noticed you was because of how you conducted yourself in a room. I was like, I like his energy. I like he's himself, but we're professional. You were friendly.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to know who that person is, because that's the kind of person I want to be in a room, and the vibe I want to give, a welcomeness.
Yeah.
And in the past, I haven't always done that very well.
I actually can't imagine that. I know. That can't be true.
A lot of years of just practice of thinking about the other people in the room, not your own. I don't know how to put it. Selfishness. I don't know how to say it sweetly. I was trying to soften it, but your own selfishness of like, what are people going to think? And what if I misstep or what? And then pretty soon I just was like, oh my God, I'm only thinking about myself, and I'm not thinking about the other people in the room. I'm thinking about what are they going to think of me? And I need to think, oh, I can tell them her shoes are cute, or Brandon, I'm so glad to meet you. You got a great handshake, right? Just those things that matter, that lift our day. And I guess it also made me realize my own self-focus was getting in the way of me accomplishing what I wanted to do in that room, which was to connect with people and be a light and help, my team, because I work with a big team of people and I'm blessed with that. So it's like, oh, I'm limiting
them. I can't wait to get into, there's so many things on that side. So, but I do want to put some emphasis on a couple of those points, because I don't think this isn't true. It was true for me. I wasn't able to confidently present myself until I needed that criticalness of myself to get there. Mm-hmm. Meaning, okay, how is my handshake? How do these pants and this shirt and this tie, when I still had to wear a tie, and the shoes?
Is it straight?
Am I presenting that I take care of my body? Right. And not just the way that I dress, but I am somebody that worries about my health, because if you're a fat slob, I'm judging you.
I know.
Absolutely. And especially if you're a doctor, I'm judging you. But is this person mentally, emotionally, right? Like, I need them to check all the boxes that they take care of themselves, because if you take care of yourself, then your interactions with other people are going to be taken care of. Right. So I needed that self-criticism to get me there. But then if you keep riding that train, then it is self-focus. Then it does become a burden, really. Like, at some point, you're good. Be confident about it. Rock it, right? And And then, but at the same time, wherever you're at in that process, whether you've gotten to the self-confident part or not, you still need to show a lot of interest in other people. Like it is about everybody fundamentally wants to be seen and heard.
They do.
You're the listener. So like give them the attention that they deserve. It drives me crazy when I'm talking to somebody and you can tell that they are like not listening to a word that you're saying. Like, okay. And next, let's get to somebody that actually wants to have this deep, meaningful, who are you? Let's engage.
I love that you said that. The listener. That is so true.
Yeah. Well, and you're so good at it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, and it was so apparent when we went out the other night and you just, it was like, it was this masterclass. It was so good. there's this, what kind of judge is he?
He is in Superior Court.
That's right. So, it is Superior Court. And then there's an attorney. And then there's, there was I pulled out of one of the guys that he does hypnosis. I'm like, she's got this collection of people and they're all phenomenal. And I could just like sit here and talk to these people, one of them for hours. Oh, she doesn't collect these people without them knowing that she cares about them. Jill is a listener. And she cares and she wants people to be better and she wants to be there to support them and just like watch them blossom. And that is who you are.
It is. I love them. I love all of you. So I think that has been something the last year and a half that I've really honed in on was that, and I don't mean this to sound like I'm trying to have false humility, but I know I'm not anything. Like I said, I'm not anything that special. I grew up in a family where, oh my gosh.
No. I won't finish that, but we all know what I'm saying, folks.
Oh my gosh.
That's so not true.
Well,
I'm calling BS.
I know God gave me a special gift, and that's what I would say.
Yes.
Is that I know that, again, I grew up in a family where a lot of what I do is normal. So it's kind of like, it doesn't seem that extraordinary, but I think we forget that people want to be seen and heard.
Yes.
They want to be listened to. And we're so busy sometimes trying to push and pull instead of go deep and learn, well, but who are you?
Yeah.
What were you made for? What are your interests?
Yeah.
Like what could you do? And I have this great blessing of seeing people's potential. It doesn't mean they're going to live up to it. That's the thing that I've had. You'll sometimes see me have a hard exterior on that. It's because at some point I have to say, nope, they didn't live up to their potential.
Right.
And I can't keep investing emotional energy. That has also been a blessing from God, though, because then I can continue to show people you are this amazing creation. Go be it.
Yeah. Well, you can see the end of their story and they but they have to take the actions to get themselves there.
They do. And I can't control that. And I can't carry guilt with that. And that has been the big thing that I've grown through is I can coach them and I can ignite them.
Yeah.
I know I can. I know I have that gift. I can see people and say, you were made for greatness. And I believe it with all my heart and I see it in them. And for that group that you got to be a part of, they have risen to that challenge.
Yes.
And they're thriving and just growing. And I am humbled and honored and awed that so many times they'll turn to me and be like, still there, coach? Like that's kind of the vibe. And I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah.
So it's an honor and it's humbling. And that I do have a gift for. That I know I'm special in.
Very clearly.
Yes. When I'm saying I'm not special, it's not false humility. It's just, I know that I am great in.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to recognizing that we are all made for greatness. Yeah. I'm also a great creation.
Yes.
A painting, intricate and interesting, flawed and beautiful all at the same time.
Which is part of what makes it all so beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that has been a great journey for me. And I would say that like getting in those rooms, it wasn't really, okay, this might shock you too. I've never really had a confidence issue. I've always been confident.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. And again, you don't come across as cocky. You don't come across you do have the humility piece.
Oh, thank you.
But Yeah, I have a feeling there was never a like, I don't know. No, like Jill is, you know who you are and you rock it. That's what confidence is knowing who you are and rocking it. And you do exactly that.
Yeah, I know who I am. I know who I default to.
Yeah.
I know the places I can grow. And so sometimes I guess when people say they were surprised that I would hesitate going in the rooms, I was more using an example of like, you can start to be self-focused on, I never really actually, this sounds terrible because I do respect people's opinions that deserve my respect. I'm going to clarify that.
That's a good qualifier.
It is. It's a good qualifier. Yeah. So, but it was less about being in that room and thinking, what are they going to think of me or that? And more about like, I just don't want to participate. I used to be kind of a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
Because it did take sometimes energy to be a listener.
Oh yeah.
I've always been a good listener, but it took more energy and training. But now that I've developed that muscle better, I'm always like, who are you? Oh, that's cool. What do you do? And let's just go in, get deep.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So that was really where I grew probably the most. Is it was a selfishness of like, oh, well, I'm going to be giving energy out, right?
Yes.
Which we just do. You give out that energy. If you're a true extrovert, you get filled up by giving that out.
Yes.
It's reciprocal. But most humans are like a mix of introvert, extrovert. Yeah. Most
people want to say hardcore, I'm this or I'm that. No, you're probably a blend.
You're
like 20-80. Some people are 50-50. Some people are,
So that's kind of where I started to learn. But if I'm not there listening and being somebody for them, what if I missed the Brandon because I didn't reach out a hand?
That would be so sad. We wouldn't be doing this right now.
That would be so sad. My life would be less bright.
It would be less Brandon for sure.
It would be less Brandon. Yeah. Let's go.
That Brandon. Spice would not be in the Jill mix.
It wouldn't.
Yeah.
And what a unique and beautiful creation. And then by extension, I get to meet your awesome kids tonight and get to see their uniqueness. And it just, we miss out so much on life if we ignore the humans.
Yes. Well, and you know, I have a feeling we have more of this to talk about too, because I know how important it is to you in your life. Relationship with God.
Yes.
I've done a lot of soul searching. I too love history. I love theology. I mean, again, right, there's so many different unique, even within the same religion. If I brought in another Catholic, you too are practicing different religions. Mm-hmm. It's under the same banner, but your relationship with God within Catholicism is different than the next Catholic next to you, right? And to me, everything boils down to, okay, God created me for a reason, so I need to be me, and then I get to experience, and I get to experience Jill, and I get to experience John, and I get to experience Barbara, whatever it is, go down the list. Because, man, they were all made for a reason, and I get to find out what that is. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a blast. What's going on? Yeah.
I love that.
Well, and again, it's reinforcing what you were saying, because that's exactly what you do.
Thank you.
So I'm curious. So I'm going to bring this back because it's all this beautiful portrait is there. We got to bounce around a little bit. So let's go back to the Ivies. Okay. Because we got some politics to get into, this is going to tie a lot of what we just talked. I mean, you were alluding to it throughout. Don't let me forget to bring up Ronald Reagan for a brief second when we get to politics.
Oh, deal.
Okay, deal.
I love talking about Ronald
Reagan. Little bookmark right there. Okay, so you're in the Ivies, mm-hmm. and you're touring around. What was the touring around like? Where did you go? I gotta look. Okay, tell me.
So because my brother is also very hardworking, we were actually touring anywhere from 7 to 9 months on the road.
Oh, wow.
It was a very intense tour. We loaded up a Suburban with a trailer on the back.
Yes.
And there was 4 of us siblings went. 3 of us were in the band. And then my third brother chose to help us manage on the road.
Oh, I love that.
So he came with us. He was kind of our bouncer, sound guy.
He's got that skill set.
He does.
He's contributing.
So we all went, and that was kind of our first tour. We traveled everywhere. Gosh, I'm trying to think of how many years we traveled and toured. It was a couple years. I think it was 5.
That's amazing.
It was.
And are you like where across the U.S.? Where are you going?
We literally came all the way up to Seattle, Washington. We played all in Florida. We played in New York. We played in.
You went everywhere.
We literally went everywhere. We
so
toured.
You've seen this country.
I have seen this country.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's the best.
It is the best.
It's the best country in the world and the one that's ever existed. So
yeah.
I'm a very proud American here.
I love our country. I could do away with some of the power structure.
Yes.
The people in power. Anyways.
Yes.
Sorry.
That needs fixing for sure.
Yeah.
But the foundation that we have here and our founding documents are just, and when you travel, when you travel America, you see the brilliance of statehood.
Yes.
You just see why they gave so much power, why they really focused on states' rights.
Yes.
Because it helped so much to keep it local. And we'll definitely get into that because local is where it's at, guys.
Yes.
So
amen.
that was where we traveled across the entire nation. We ended up picking up some other band members. At one point, there was 7 of us.
Not all sleeping in that Suburban.
Oh, of course. Yep. Yep. Boys, girls, didn't matter. We were all crammed together. Yep. We were in that Suburban.
So
I know. And thank God.
My neck hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, for a little bit for us, we had a Kia Sophia. Not a good idea. We almost died at one point. Then we got the Econoline van. But yeah, Suburban would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if 7 of us in a Suburban would be great, but.
It was pretty tight.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was a little tight.
Yeah.
And we all shared a hotel room. So that was very interesting because we were very broke musicians. And it was great, though. We created this, probably where some of my love of people started to come from.
Cool.
Was getting to learn our fellow bandmates. They were all different, very, very different than us.
Yeah, well, because you have this connection. You grew up with each other. It's the Ivies.
It is. And we're the siblings and, very devout in our faith. It was probably some of the first conversations of really, I was very blessed growing up to grow up with people that had similar faith views, right?
Yep.
If they weren't Catholic.
But it can also be kind of echo chambery.
It can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so they would have these intense conversations, but because of my dad and his love of studying and just saying, you just want people asking questions.
Yes.
Like if they're asking questions, they really want to learn. If they're talking at you, you can just shut up and listen and pretty much say, that's never going anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the mindset my dad had kind of given us. And so it really challenged me. I got into these great philosophical debates on, is there a God? Because one of the gentlemen in the band was atheist. And so ended up kind of admitting more agnostic. And I was like, okay,
just not sure.
We're moving a little bit towards the right direction.
Yeah.
Agnostic means there's a chance. So it was kind of good. I know. So really interesting, but saw the country. Had these amazing experiences, had these crazy experiences. Like in Dallas one time we were playing in not the best neighborhood because, we weren't super famous by any means.
I was going to say, what kind of, you're probably playing everything from, not dive bar. I'm not going to put that title on it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll put that title on it then. To some nice venues.
Yes.
But yeah, I know the vibe.
Our last really, I guess it would have been year and a half on the circuit was when we started finally breaking ground. Yeah. We were playing at the colleges, which
cool.
Yeah, they pay really well, built-in audience. So we were really starting to gain some momentum on the college campuses. And then my siblings got married. Jeez, guys.
Dang.
I know.
Stop falling in love.
I know. How dare they?
Oh.
And hard. They both fell in love.
They got Yoko Ono.
Yeah. But at that point, honestly, even though we were making a lot of traction and finally starting to make income, not just the broke artist, but actually being able to save money and feel okay, we're really actually.
You guys aren't ordering off the dollar menu anymore.
I know we were going to Subway.
Yeah. Oh, $5 footlong. Let's go.
So it was that kind of vibe, but I was actually kind of ready to be done.
Yeah. It takes a toll.
It does. That many months and just.
As pretty as the country is, And as comfortable as that Suburban is, your own bed, it's a call-in.
It is.
Yeah.
So I was kind of ready, but literally some of the coolest experiences playing in the New York bar was like so weird, but
How
so cool. Oh my gosh. Of course, it couldn't be anything but a Monday night that we were playing. So as a musician, you know what those look like.
Yep.
Okay.
So yep.
We were the opening act, and there was supposed to be 3 or 4 other bands behind us. So pretty much it's all the bands just sitting in the bar, listening to
supporting each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what you
actually
do.
I really loved.
Yes. Me too.
And that's where I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways.
And you show that respect, and you stay till the last band because they sat there and listened to you. You need to sit and listen to them.
Always.
It was so, for those who haven't been a part of like that band culture, they sometimes would have a hard time understanding, but it's like, no, it's a respect thing. And if you leave, unless you have another gig to get to, there is some like rules, right? Like,
of course.
But it's like, if you just leave because you want to leave, like,
that band's not going to be traveling with you for long. No.
So we were the opening of these local bands.
Yeah.
They were like, you know what? We'll throw you in front. This band is fairly popular, and we'll put you in front
on Monday night.
On a Monday night. And we're just like, whatever. At least it's a gig. At least it's practice.
Yeah.
And they said, we're not going to pay you, but we'll feed you. And we're like, fine. We'll play like 8 songs for food.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's only so far the bar food can go. After 8 or 9 months, it's time for a home cooked meal.
Oh gosh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get there. It's awful. So we get there and we play, and we just did this more acoustic breakdown set because it was with the full band.
Yeah.
And we had done, the other band's kind of clapping. Literally the like staff is like, okay, we're going to go make your food now. And we're just going to pre-make it if you don't have allergies. And we're like, we don't. So they're making up all this food. And all of a sudden the next band gets up there, and they're like a string instrument band, cellist, a violin, a viola.
Cool.
I know, and a bass. And we're like, okay, this is going to be cool at least. They didn't know how to play their instruments. They did interpretive instrument playing.
The heck does that even mean?
They literally held down the strings with one hand, took the bow in the other, and rammed it back and forth, and all in like an off-key symphony of cat chorus, like we're singing this song. And they said it was interpretive string music.
Were they all high? What are we doing?
They must have been. And so we're just like, what? This has to be a joke, right? Like they're pulling one on us because
they do comedy and music.
Yes, like, this can't be real. No, they finished that song, a whole song, and they started to do the next one. And
how could you tell it was a different song?
They paused. They stopped and waited for applause.
Oh, no.
So we did what we normally would ream other bands for doing.
You guys jetted.
We were like, we're not doing this.
No.
Like, we're exhausted. We had still 5 hours to drive to get to our hotel. And it's like, 9 at night. And then the guy comes running out to us with our sandwiches, and he made us grilled cheese sandwiches out of cheese that smelled like feet.
Oh.
And the bread had gone moldy.
No.
And we did not realize till we got to like the car. And then he didn't cook the French fries enough, so they were like gummy, like, and we're just like, we played.
What just happened? You played for a story. That's exactly.
We played for a story.
It was an experience. It was a story. That's psychotic.
Isn't that crazy? So that was our.
I don't have anything crazy like that. I have some crazy, not like that.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's...
And we could go on the band stories, how we ended up in this one person's attic because they were like wanting us to sleep there. Yeah. And we did not stay. Yeah. So it just crazy. Fun.
Yeah.
Great stories.
Yes.
How New Yorkers are honestly like this New Yorker was like one of the biggest jerks ever and the sweetest people in the world.
All at the same time.
Because we were these stupid country kids and we got lost in New York City.
Oh my gosh.
And we ended up in the wrong part of town.
This sounds like a movie.
It literally could be like the Ivy Farm kids, the Texans go to New York, I guess. But I'm just like sitting there and we got lost, and he was like chewing us out, all profanities. You dumb F country kids, like this and that, what are you doing? And as he's like, follow me. And you could have gotten yourselves killed. And he's like reaming us, right? Embarrassing us, calling us names. But pretty soon we're like, I think he's helping us. And he was. He took us to the subway. He paid for the subway because we didn't have any way. We didn't know what to do.
No.
So he's just like, get out of here and be safe. And I was like, aw, that New Yorker liked us. Like, this is so different. Texas would have been like, bless your all's heart.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, isn't that cool? But so that was, then my siblings got married and we kind of stepped away. We played some.
How did they have time to date while you're on the road? Is this long distance relationships?
Long distance.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Long distance.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Didn't meet some random New Yorker that they married?
No, actually, they both married Texans.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, you shouldn't marry outside the family, right?
Oh, no. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get married, and are you just kind of like left holding the bag? Or, I mean, it sounded like you were ready. It was all just kind of naturally coming to that anyways.
It was.
Yeah.
I was actually probably ready to leave the band maybe even before they were.
Yeah, which is hard.
It is hard. It's hard.
Like, I remember leaving the band because I was the guy that left the band, and then like it imploded after that. And that's what I was afraid of. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that ruins this opportunity for everybody else. And I did.
No.
And I loved them.
Yeah, I know.
And when it's family, you love them even more.
You
There's
do.
an even, like, how do you do Thanksgiving dinner? So
awkwardly.
you bring the pecan pie. So
and the ostrich egg.
The ostrich egg. But so I'm glad that, so you were ready.
I was.
They end up being the ones getting married and like really kind of putting the kibosh on it. And then what do you do from there?
So that's when I had kind of seen some of the writing on the wall and kind of had been talking to them about maybe wanting to exit out. And I've been doing photography since I was 10.
Cool.
And I'm very good at people photography. Landscapes I'm good at. I'm good at some other stuff, but I'm very good at like capturing someone's essence so I was like, I think I can make a business.
That's like a theme again, right? That is something you are just phenomenal at. So doing it in camera form does not surprise me.
Thank you. I love it. I love especially like if I were to just follow you around for a day or because
you get those natural moments. You get to capture them.
Yes.
Yeah.
In their life, in their work. It's just, I don't know, a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
That you really have that memory tied to it too. And there's just something so beautiful about capturing that in a photo. And I love videos too, but a photo, just that stillness of study, it's like art in itself.
It is. And like you said, it's a moment captured in time. It's just that memory.
It is.
That's really cool.
And sometimes with videos, it's not that you shouldn't get some videos, but I've experienced some, deep loss of people who have passed. And sometimes actually hearing their voice and watching them on a video
it's a different experience.
It is.
It's a different invocation of their memory.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's more, your mind doesn't get to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
It's presented for you. Where when you get a photo, it does bring, it's not just that memory either. It's all the memories. And that's a really good point.
And I think
it is different.
Too, it's a little more, at least my experience, and other people it's different. It's a little more painful when I see a video of like Gloria.
Yeah.
It's a little more painful to me because she feels like she's just right there.
Right there.
I could see her.
Yeah.
I could grab her. And that's kind of where sometimes with a photo, I still have that feeling of like, I miss her, but it's not quite the same level of intensity.
Yeah.
Of like, if I had a video of you right now and then God forbid something were to happen, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can hear his voice. And I struggle with that personally. I don't know if that's everybody, but I struggle with like hearing the voice and seeing, because I'm like, well, that means they're still here. Yeah. Whereas a photo, it is still. So you kind of understand that. And again, it brings, like, I loved what you said. It brings all the memories and different memories of the person as a whole.
Yeah.
So I kind of had started doing some side hobby stuff during our down weeks.
You're exploring the country. You've got just the smorgasbord of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I also took that time to start studying Photoshop really heavily and to increase my skills in that and kind of that side of the photography.
Which is so important.
It is. It's like not knowing.
It's not as important as the actual ability to capture the image itself, but being able to clean it up and have it be what you wanted in the end is, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
It is.
But once you have that skill set.
Bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very good at Photoshop.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. That one I did. I took all the downtime in the car, reading articles, studying, taking classes. I really immersed myself into it because it fascinated me. Because I could also do art in it, like design art and graphic. I ended up getting into graphic design, and I can actually do graphic design work as well.
Cool.
So it helped me diversify my creativity and it entertained me instead of just like staring at a window, listening to music during long car drives.
You can only do that for so long.
You can. So that was a little bit why I started to want it to exit, was just the long road trips. And so I ended up they got married, and I started my photography company and pretty much picked up business right away and did that for, gosh, a couple years before I ended up getting that like marketing consulting kind of gig. And then, it was interesting. But I have to ask you a question because you sparked something. Now I'm going to ask.
Oh, no.
I haven't asked you, do you have recorded music that I could listen to?
Somewhere. Yeah, I do.
Okay. You're going to have to tell me because I don't want to forget. That's another bookmark.
Okay, well.
So Reagan
and
Brandon's music.
Because
I want to hear that.
It was not recorded in a fancy studio like yours.
That's okay.
The quality is not good. Which is weird because we were working with Atlantic, so you'd think that we would have, but I don't know how that happened. I don't know. Was
that experience kind of crazy for you too?
Yeah, the whole thing was nuts. The whole thing was crazy.
Surreal.
Very. Yeah. But it is funny how it comes to an end, because for me it was what I wanted. And I was the one that willingly pulled the plug on it. So that was weird. But it was so that I could have those 4 crazy creatures that you see out there. And so I would do that 100 times out of 100. I made the right choice. But yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing though to hear that testimony. I do it again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Over and over and over and over again. Because how many of those crazy New York stories can you have in a lifetime?
One's enough.
One's good. one's good. Yeah.
But you think of the life of those kids out there and the experiences you're going to have.
Yeah.
Hopefully future grandkids someday. So
all the things.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That legacy. I've been talking about legacy quite a bit. A little bit because a good friend of mine, he's running for office, but was talking about the history of his name. And then out of nowhere, he's like, wait, what's the history of your name? Like, do you know it? Because he was talking all about his and the longevity of it. And I was like, well, yeah, I do. I said, I know the history of my name. I know my roots.
Yeah.
And kind of tying even back to what we discussed a while ago of Ireland and knowing those roots and those ties, even though in many aspects I feel more at home in the Mexican culture because of where I grew up.
Yeah.
And like tacos are my favorite food ever. That it's all of, I still have these ties to like Ireland just because you can feel the roots. You've heard about the stories. You heard about how they came over.
Yeah.
And I think that to brag on America, it's what makes us the great melting pot. Like how a girl who has primarily and predominantly Irish heritage can also feel so at home in the Mexican culture.
Yeah.
What a great melting pot.
Yes.
Like really, why we ever would try to not include true diversity and try and segregate that out and to act like it's, us trying to adopt somebody else's culture. Well, isn't that what we should do so we understand each other and be at home in it and to make something beautiful, a beautiful tapestry, right? Which is what our country's supposed to be.
Yes.
So I just have been kind of reflecting on that legacy. And I think that that's really what I hear maybe in your voice too, is what you're describing is that legacy.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want to not have those beautiful creatures in your life.
Yeah. I'd much rather have those be the things that, okay, what 100 years from now, because I think about this. My mother-in-law and my grandma actually are really big into genealogy, right? It's with my grandma, she's got the hope chest that's got the family Bible with the names written in it and all those things. And so I know where all the grave markers are. I know where like all that stuff is. And it's so weird when you look back and go, okay, like I know, obviously we know our parents. I know my grandparents. I knew all 4 of my grandparents very well. I knew the majority of my great grandparents, but then like you don't know your great grandparents.
No.
And even with my great grandparents, like that, I wasn't old enough to really have those conversations of what was it like for you? What were your parents like? What were my great grandparents like? And the hardships of, because I've got a lot of Irish in me too.
Yeah.
And so just thinking about what it was like to be brave enough to leave your homeland and desperate enough to leave your homeland to come over to the land of opportunity and get spit on and just be third-rate citizen and all the things and make it here. And I mean, so I think a lot about what was it like for, I'll look up my genealogy. What was it like for Andrew Hamblin, a couple generations ago? I don't have his diaries. I don't have a recording to see him.
Right.
I might have a picture, but that doesn't, some of those old photos, and especially when you get to the point where you don't have photos, how can you really understand these people? So 100 years from now, I want my kids to have been able to tell, and not even tell my story, but just be an example of what I wanted them to put out into the world. I want them to be them. I don't want them to live my life, but I hope that I instill something amazing in these children that they go out and do amazing things. If my legacy is music, and not to say, right? We've got Bach, Beethoven, right? Like we have amazing music. So that legacy can definitely have that impact. But it's different. I think it's different.
Well, it's all about the humans.
It's all about the humans.
Really.
Yeah.
I think even though I haven't been blessed with children, that the opportunities that I enjoy the most in everything that I do is the chance to be able to just be that light in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And it was really humbling. Like, it's just been a very humbling year in the most amazing way of sitting at that table at the Young Professionals Unplugged, looking around that table and seeing all the sparks flying between all of you guys and you guys building friendships. And I have this gentleman whose name is Robert and his wife Brittany that I just met recently. And there happened to be this fundraiser and we had 2 extra tickets. And I was like, you know what, guys, I just really like you. Come. I was like, I'm going to have a table of 12. I have 2 extra tickets. Just come. And they came and they connected with the judge.
Nice.
And when they connected with him, all of a sudden Robert and him, so Robert is kind of, he's a good old country boy from Deer Park and I love him.
Yeah.
And, and then here's the judge, and they like immediately bonded on all the similarities they had growing up and this cartoon I'd never even heard of. And it was like so amazing to see. And then to look at what was the common thread there at even that Unplugged. It was, I brought them together.
Yes. And that's legacy.
It is. And it's all about the humans.
It's all about the humans.
And all I could think was, and I don't mean this to sound as a morbid thought, but I looked at around that room and I thought, if God were to take me home tomorrow, I could honestly stand in front of him and say, okay, God, I think I fulfilled the purpose you wanted me to do, which is to elevate these people and bring them to you and to each other.
Yes.
And non-judgment, in care, in love. Like that table, every person at that table that you sat at loves me.
Yes.
And honestly gave love to each other.
Yeah.
They immediately, just because they loved me, they immediately loved each other when I introduced them to each other.
Yes.
And that is, I think, what you're describing here with your own family.
100%. Well, and I love that. I love the way that you say that because I bring you up a lot in conversation. Mm-hmm. Do you know Jill? And the number of people that like the instant reaction is, Oh yeah. Oh, I love Jill. Isn't she fantastic? And there's just like this you just have such an instant impact on people because you do bring out the best in them. And especially those people that you get to intimately work with and mentor and guide and help on campaigns and and then you talk about that, right? Because you're working with good people.
Yes.
And so when those people get elected, what's the impact that they're having on their community? And so like the tapestry that you have woven with all of these threads that just stretch out and all these people that are interconnected because of you, that's legacy.
Thank you.
It's amazing to watch. It is so fun to watch. I love it.
Just love them. I just love you guys. I don't know what else. I just feel like a gushy, like mush lately. Honestly, I'm just like, I love you. I said it to this random stranger that looked like she really needed a hug. And I really meant it. I went up to her. I was like, ma'am, can I hug you? You look sad. And she's like, I am sad. And I hugged her. I was like, I love you. It's going to be okay. And then she got my phone number and texted me a couple of times and let me know she was okay. But I was like,
so sweet.
So thank you. I'm glad. I just am blessed. I'm just so blessed.
Well, okay. And so how did we get here? Because so you go to this marketing company.
Yes.
And what does that look like? And then because how do you get into doing what you're doing today? That like there's so much there.
There is so much. I know. I'm like, how much time do we have?
And we still got to talk about Reagan.
I know. And your music. So I got that opportunity and my company was really growing and I loved it. I got into marketing and business. I would walk alongside basically the CEO and a lot of the staff, and I would help troubleshoot and kind of fill in wherever they needed me as a contract. So I was able to learn, like, is it team culture? Is it the logos? What is it? What's going on?
Right.
And so I was learning a lot from the gentleman that was like, no, we want to hire you, and was able to start kind of almost consulting in the business.
Yeah.
So it was a huge blessing, great opportunity. And it really helped me open my eyes to business strategy and marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So I always was pretty good at salesmanship, but I didn't really understand the business strategy side of it. I kind of naturally understood because we are, all of us, a small family, small business owners. So most of my relatives are all business owners. My whole family is.
Yeah.
So
all entrepreneurs.
Yeah. All entrepreneurs. So you kind of grow up with kind of instinctively knowing. And I had really good instincts. And I don't know if that was just a gift from God or if it was maybe training from my dad. I'm not sure. Both. But I seem to have, I think, both would be a good answer. I seem to have really good instincts. So I started really honing my skills kind of there. And then I ended up getting married, and that's what moved me to Washington State.
Oh. Because where had you settled back in Texas at that point?
I was back in Texas. I was living in El Paso.
Why the hell would you leave Texas for Washington?
Well, love. As we've been discussing.
He was up here then? He wanted to come back up
here? He was in the military at the time that I met him. So I actually met him touring, and that's how we met. I fell in love with
That's actually very romantic.
I know. It actually is. I met him at a gig that we were playing, and we ended up striking up communication. And I was like, oh, this long distance thing. I'm also touring all the time. I don't know how this will work.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting sent to what's called safety training, which just a couple hours from El Paso and Albuquerque. Okay. And I convinced him to come visit me on the farm. And I was like, yeah, you need to come visit me. And that was a whole experience because my family, while being very welcoming Texans, was not sure about this northern boy because he was from North Dakota.
North Dakota? Who doesn't like North Dakota? There's nothing there. It's frozen.
They're northerners. So
they're northerners. Okay.
They don't understand our southern ways.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, which there is some truth to that.
Yes.
But that was, for some reason, that was a big deal. But so he and I started dating, actually through still the touring and through me starting my businesses and all of that. We dated for almost 5 years, and then finally decided to get married. And I sold my company because I really wanted to start my family.
Yeah.
And so we I told him, I was like, I'd really like to be a stay-at-home mom. I got to have the honor of having a stay-at-home mom, the privilege.
Yeah.
And I think it really helped.
Anymore, it totally is.
It is a privilege. And so that was something that was important to me was I wanted kids. I wanted to have that stability. So it moved us up to Washington. And we actually did pick Washington. We got to kind of have a pick of.
It's making me question your sanity.
I know. I was politically educated because my dad was very good at teaching us civics, and my mom. I need to give a lot of credit to my mom too, but my dad in particular was just always on that. But I would say that we weren't expecting to stay here long term. So it was like, you're in the military. So it's like, normally it's 2.5 years. You're there. So we were like, well, this is cool and different. And then we can go move here. And it was like between a couple other not as good of choices anyway.
Right.
So we were like, well, Washington's beautiful, which it is.
It is.
Yeah. So we got stationed here.
Well, where were you at? JBLM, or are you over here on this side?
No, we were here on Spokane. You're on? Okay. So we were here at Fairchild.
Okay.
And we ended up purchasing a home and it was before the market was crazy. It's crazy to think we bought 5 acres and our house, which was, I mean, it needed a lot of work. It did, but at like 1,800 square feet for $250,000. Like, I'm just like, looking back on it, we were literally like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money, but okay.
I need a trash can. I'm going to throw up.
I know.
That's such a good deal.
It's such a good deal. I remember.
Oh my gosh.
So this is where I started to see these patterns. I remember, and this was 2017. End of 2016. He started looking at houses because he was like, I know we want to get married. And he sent me a house, and it was in Kendall Yards. Like just about. So for those, if they're listening who aren't familiar with Spokane, Kendall Yards is like the new updated kind of version.
Totally gentrified.
Yes, completely.
Because it wasn't that way before.
No.
What
was it before?
I
Felony Flats,
Ghetto.
I think. It was, like what they called it. But basically this house was like 2 blocks north of where all of this new build and all of the shopping and everything.
Yeah, because it's beautiful now.
It is beautiful and like really desirable, right?
Yes.
Well, I remember he sent me a house and I was like, I really like this one. I really think we should buy this one. I mean, it's in our better price range. I'm more comfortable with that as $150.
What?
Yeah.
That same house today is probably 6 plus. Easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so gross.
Isn't that
so
terrible?
Gross.
And I remember, and I should have trusted my business instincts.
Yeah, you should have.
Because I looked at him and he's like, no, I really want acreage. And I was like, okay, but
But
this house, I was like, if we don't stay in Washington, this house is more rentable.
Yeah.
The one in Kendall Yards, right?
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, oh my God, we should have just bought both and like put a renter in there. But anyway.
You live and learn.
But so that was what moved us up here. And had a great love of the community and just really started to like appreciate the people I met, the things I got to see.
What did you like about it here? I mean, you're like a little bit deeper on that because you're coming from a deep sense of family and community. And I mean, the South there's like just an interconnectedness there that's amazing.
It is.
And the Inland Northwest, uniquely in the Pacific Northwest, has pieces of that. And I'm wondering, is that what you were tapped into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got very blessed being Catholic. We obviously founded home church right away.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got to get connected to Father Curtis, who reminded me so much of my brothers. It was like, I just immediately was like, oh, like this is cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, your husband, because we just had gotten married and he was deploying within like 2 months of us being newlyweds for like 4 or 5 months, I think.
Okay.
So not horrible, but
terrible.
not fun.
Yeah.
Because like I had just moved up and I'd never really had to drive in the snow and all the stuff that is here. So a big learning curve. But I got really connected to the community there.
Yeah.
And
well, you kind of had to.
I did.
Otherwise you were just going to be by yourself. Yeah.
And not that Fairchild does a really good job, or at least when I was a military spouse, they did a really good job of bringing families kind of together so you didn't feel alone. I will give a lot of credit to Colonel Collins' wife for really checking up on me. She's like, oh my God, you're a newlywed. You just moved from Texas. You're dealing with snow. This girl's like getting like everything thrown at her. But with the church community, then Father Curtis convinced me to become the church choir, which of course,
smart man,
very smart man. And to this day, I thank God for him. He's now in Walla Walla, but I thank God for him because I met my good friends, Kevin and Debbie, who Kevin was in the church group with me, the church choir. And to this day, I call them my church parents. Like they just were parents to me.
So sweet.
And so like,
I love that.
It's so great. And so that's kind of what I saw, that community.
I love how God puts people in our path and scenarios and all that. It's always, always, always exactly what you need.
It is. It just, you always are like, oh my, looking back, you're like, wow, just because Father Curtis convinced me, because he heard me singing at church one time. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not really doing anything so I could help.
Yeah.
Right. I had just sold my business too. And as you know, I don't like to sit still.
I was going to say, I can't.
I was a little like, oh, what do I do? This stay-at-home wife? Like,
yeah.
Luckily, I had a lot of house projects to do. And my plan was I always kind of knew once I got my feet under me, like even when we had kids, I'd probably have some sort of side business.
Of course.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just, I've worked really hard my whole life. Let me just kind of adjust. Let me figure out.
You can take a breather.
A little bit.
It's allowed.
It was. And I renovated our house and it looks great. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did you have to do to it?
The basement was unfinished. And so we did hire that out, but there was a lot of, I don't know why labor shortages even back then were a problem. And
That's a thing.
It is a thing. So I ended up helping install all the floors with the guy because he was like, well, you're paying me for like the whole day. I was like, yeah, but I'm kind of bored and I want to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
that's
but then
the way I would want to do it too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
With a professional.
Like, yeah. Teach me your skill.
Yeah.
I'm paying you.
I know.
And it's my thing. I'm doing it with you.
I was like, whatever. And he's like, well, I'll get to go home early and you're still paying me for a whole day. I was like, I know, but
congrats.
You're welcome.
Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome.
And it actually served me well because then I was able to rip out the carpet and like the upstairs closets and stuff and replace the flooring. So I was like, cool. He taught me.
I've actually never heard of anybody else doing that. And I've always wanted to do that. So you have now encouraged and validated that I can do that. So thank you.
Totally can.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So I got really good at like DIY and I started like I didn't do the big renovations, partly because not that I couldn't, I knew I could, but it was more like, it probably is smarter to hire it out and just do it right the first time.
Right.
But again, like with the flooring guy, I did kind of hover while they were doing it to be like, okay, how would you do that? And how does it work? Cause I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cause they've got all these cool little tricks. Every trade does.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's how you do it. Yeah.
So
smart.
It was fun. So that's kind of.
So you weren't totally bored. You were occupied.
I did occupy myself.
Still, getting all these pieces together helps integrate you into the community and helps you fall in love with it.
It did.
Yeah.
I would say I fell more in love with it during COVID. Ironically.
Okay. So what year is this?
This all would have been taking place. So I moved up here 2017. And so up until COVID, I started photography again just as a hobby.
Cool.
But we were really committed to having kids. And so that was kind of what our thought process was. So I did a couple weddings, portraits, stuff like that, just to make ends meet. But honestly, as a military spouse, even with you can make it work even without kids, but sometimes it's just really hard, that tug and go.
Yeah.
It is hard to connect. And so he and I kind of collectively made the decision that I wouldn't pick up a job yet because he's like, I really wouldn't get to see you then because I'm back home for like a month and then gone again. And it's like, it's a lot of pull.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that kind of was what I did. I started my photography again. That got me more in the community as well.
Yeah.
I put it out to a lot of the military families that I would do their portraits for free.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
like,
sweet.
Yeah. I mean, because it's professional and they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
That's such a cool way to serve them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Serve your community. So that's great.
So that led me all the way up till COVID.
Yeah. The great COVID.
Didn't that change everybody's life?
Everybody. Some of us went into all things politics. Some of us went and got a pair of Grinch pajamas. Some of us moved from you like that? From Western Washington over to Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, there was a lot that went on during COVID.
Upheaval for sure.
For sure. But I think, it was the refiner's fire.
It was.
Yeah. So how did it change you, refine you? Shift?
So honestly, this has given me a unique perspective because I was so educated politically in Texas with my dad and my mom. They always said, if you aren't engaged in politics, you might as well just shut up because you have no voice. Like, you have to engage in policy to have a voice, or else they're going to bulldoze you. Like, you have to be engaged in the culture. You have to be engaged in policy, because those two things ultimately control and shape our country and our freedoms.
Yes.
They just do.
And when you say be involved, define that a little bit better.
So my family would, especially my dad and my brother's taken on this mantle. They host a ton of legislators, both locally and federally, on their farm. My brother sits on multiple boards advocating for farmers and kind of keeping big government out. And so my dad also did that. He traveled to DC a lot, testified against bills, for bills, helped work with, local and state and federal legislators to also help protect farmland, represent some of them. I think my brother represents like the whole Western region of all pecan farmers.
Wow.
So yeah. And it is impressive to hear, like, he's very modest about it as well. But just to hear, he'll go and meet with Senator Ted Cruz and actually go and like advocate for farmers and some of those different things. And so that's more what my dad meant by being involved. And then he also took us to political rallies, took us to support them, took us to meet them, took us to go and sit at the town halls so we would be educated on their policies and where they stood, taught us to ask questions, taught us to research. So he really got us involved. Like,
that's phenomenal. Because when I think most people, it's, I have my I voted sticker.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's, I listen and read about politics. I'm educated on it. Okay, well, that's a good piece. You need to know what's going on. But I think there's also, it seems like it would be time consuming. There's almost a celebrity status behind politicians. So they're like untouchable and you can't interact with them, which is a bunch of BS, by the way. They work for you.
Public servants.
Yes. And they're just going to toe the party line anyways. So me calling, me showing up, me being engaged isn't actually going to matter. Or if it does, I could just make the phone call and say, don't vote for that bill. But you're just proving out right here that that's not the case.
It is not.
It's accessible and you need to actually access it and participate.
Or else they don't know.
Yeah.
If we're not communicating to them, they're stuck in their own little echo chambers. And it's not even, mean that with no disrespect. We all can.
We all are.
We all. So my dad taught us that skill. And so he actually really did involve us.
That is such a cool example to set.
Yeah.
The more you talk about your parents, the more I fall in love with your parents.
Thank you.
They just sound like the most phenomenal people.
They were great. I mean, I'm really blessed. I look at all the life experiences that made me who I am. And so much of it was that grounding. And while they're definitely not perfect, they always did try to push us to our best. Yeah. And I've been reflecting on that quite a bit, as I've been, building even more ties again with them. I've been really reflecting on that and how I wouldn't be who I was without some of those things, and how grateful I am, and how God works his pathways in crazy ways that you'd never expect.
Always.
I know. And what was fascinating, for some reason, when I moved up here, I don't know what prompted me to say this. So this is why I keep telling all my people, never say never, because I got up here and my family was so politically educated. They'd always talk politics, girls, guys, it didn't matter. Even extended family. Okay. Politics was always a main point of conversation. Yep. That and culture.
Yeah.
Like arts and all that. Kind of really what make the deeper things, because culture and politics are all also very tied into religion and
Yes.
God and all the things that we care about.
And then you have to love history to have any and all of that make sense.
100%, or
It's all
else you're
tied together.
stuck.
Yep.
So
You can't have just one of those be an interest. It's going to open the door to all of it.
you will. It's the rabbit hole, right?
Yes.
You're down in. So, but I don't know what prompted me when I got up here. I think it was a little bit of some of this family dynamic and struggles we were going through. But I remember I was like, okay, I am not engaging in politics here. Like,
oh, you're like, nope, I'm out.
I was like, I'm out. I will educate myself on voting because I'm never not going to be a voter. So
Right.
I was like, I absolutely will educate myself on voting and be an avid voter, but nope, no politics, none.
Man, God looked at that and said, ha, ha.
Yes.
Ha.
I know. I look back, I'm like, I can't believe.
It's almost like you were tempting him.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, don't tempt God. So that was my starting point.
That's your starting point.
For frame of mindset in 2017. And then COVID hit. And it was week 2 into COVID. And I was standing in the Walmart line because obviously none of us had prepped for needing toilet paper.
Right. My father-in-law did.
Well, thank God for your father-in-law.
He saw it coming. He was like, one of these days, it's going to hit the fan. And the guy that has all the toilet paper is going to have all the trading power. I'm going to be able to barter for anything that I want.
What a smart man.
Yeah.
Who would have known?
Him. Other
Wow.
than that, not the rest of us, clearly.
Clearly not. So I'm like standing in line, needing some basic necessities.
Yeah.
And churches are all shut. Everything's shut. And
That makes me so angry.
getting shoved by these very tall gentlemen. And I'm, as you see, petite. I'm not super tall, and I just was getting jostled and I got hit kind of almost in the face by one of them because like we were all trying to get, and we were just waiting in line to get in the store.
Right.
And so they were agitated, but they weren't doing it on purpose. But I was like, I looked up towards heaven and I said, God, why can I be getting shoved around here and not be in a church pew praying to you? And it just hit me. I said, even if COVID is as serious as they're saying, I mean, and as a Catholic, last rites are a huge deal, confession and last rites. And I'm like, if I really am going to catch this by being jostled in this line at Walmart, and then I am getting the sacrament that I believe in and I have the right to believe in here in America, just taken from me by the government that's supposed to not take those rights because they're given to us by a creator. I'm like, what am I doing here? And I snapped.
That's amazing. What a moment.
It was. And I got the toilet paper.
Yeah. And we got the toilet paper. Oh, that's such a cool, and I love that you looked up at heaven and have that down. Just there it is. There's the inspiration.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It was. It just to this day is one of my most vivid memories. And I remember I did go in and I got the necessities and I was almost a little bit in a trance. And we didn't live far from the Walmart, which is where I was at near the base. And I drove home. So I didn't even have that long of a drive home to really contemplate, but I just was driving. And I remember thinking, my God, even if this kills me, I would want to be in church praying and praying for people that I care about. And they're taking that from me. No one gets to take that from me. And I got mad.
I was going to say that first feeling is anger.
Anger, righteous anger.
Yeah.
And I went home and I put the groceries away. And my husband at the time noticed something different. And I had this awesome, I do miss my office at my house. I had this really awesome office with this huge bookshelf and like my desk. And it just was it's a place of peace for me. And I went in there and I was like, I need to just go think. And I went in there and I started thinking and I started kind of praying and was like, what are we letting happen?
Yeah.
And so that is a huge part of why I just went down the rabbit holes that I did. I literally opened my computer and I went and I read the Declaration of Independence and I started reading the Constitution and I started going, what are our rights? What rights do governments have to suspend? Like what is the answer here? And it sent me on this deep dive of research.
Yep.
And I just started consuming information.
And probably being both inspired and even angrier.
Yes. Even more irate.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I thought I was free. And look at all the other rights I didn't realize they'd taken from me.
Yeah.
And they've abused. And I also didn't realize the stark difference between, although Texas did not handle COVID well either, they can't sit there and act like they did.
No.
But,
yeah,
and
Abbott
even especially
some interesting things.
He did, especially some of the local governments as well. Like obviously like Austin, El Paso, some of those local city governments also really violated and even bucked Abbott when Abbott was trying to release those restrictions. They would still completely push them.
Well, those are blue cities.
They are. Yeah. They are. And it's really sad. They toe the party line. They're blue.
Of course.
And so I remember it was starting to make me more mad. But even with how Texas didn't handle it right either, I was all of a sudden like, oh my God, we really are in a jungle here in Washington State. I suddenly, my eyes got opened because I just love America. And so I felt like, yeah, each state is a little different because each state is different, but we all have freedom. We're all American. We're all free. And it really started suddenly hitting me how they've gone after our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, all these rights that we have as Americans that they are not allowed to go after because we not only have a federal constitution that enshrines those rights, we have a frickin' state constitution that says it even more explicitly. And if any law that is passed by the state legislator that violates either of those constitutions is not a frickin' law. It is not. It does not have to be obeyed. It does not have to be listened to. It is automatically unlawful whether the governor signs it. It is your duty
to not obey it.
Yes. Civic, what is the word I'm looking for? It's civil disobedience.
Disobedience.
Yep. Civil disobedience.
Yep.
And it is not a law. And you cannot, and I literally said that to a representative. I said that, they said, well, it's the law. I said, it is not the law. It absolutely violates both our state and federal. And just because at this time we do not have a Supreme Court here in Washington State that would back that up, it doesn't make it any less true.
Right.
And standing on truth and speaking it is needed.
And that's where that gets scary and why it's hard for people to do that.
Yes.
Because when you have to deal with your local courts and then you go up to the state Supreme Court and then you go to the Ninth Circuit Court, which good freaking luck with that.
I know.
You have to, the amount of time, the amount of money, the amount of energy, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
It'll drain you. And so how do you fight that fight? How do you stand up and be the one person saying, you're wrong? I don't care what you say, you're wrong. When it could cost you your life.
Could.
What's your message to people when because I mean that's what it is on some of these things.
I would say, at what point though do you look yourself in the mirror and say, I stood for truth, like our founding fathers did? They lost their lives, their fortunes, their children, their wives. You go read those inspirational stories. I mean, Abraham Lincoln himself. You think of the sacrifice, the hard and difficult life that he led. And while I don't wish that on my family or on myself or my friends, I don't. The reality is, with greatness comes responsibility. And with leadership comes even higher responsibility. And if you feel you were put in a position to lead, then lead and do the right thing. You can do it smart. You don't have to do it brazen. You don't have to do it. Every person doesn't have to do it the same way. But you have to speak truth. You have to. And part of the reason we're here is because a bunch of good people did nothing, or they fell to a level of cowardice.
Yep.
And at some point, you have to have this own reckoning. I don't know what it is, but during COVID, I started hosting gatherings at my home for information. So that's what got me really, really going politically. I started going, and that's where I started bringing people to me, because I saw the loneliness. I saw
You
the
were
lack.
breaking the rules.
I was breaking the rules. So I was, because the rules, it was my duty to disobey them.
Yep.
They were not lawful.
Yep.
They were not. And so I held gatherings at my home, and I had another woman who I considered a dear friend from church. I did not know her political affiliations. I didn't know her stance on some of this. I kind of could have guessed, but it didn't matter. I loved her anyway, and we were friends. Well, I'd gotten to a point during COVID where I probably had anywhere from 40 to 60 people showing up at my house for the debates and for basically these huge gatherings of information.
Amazing.
And I would have sheets with QR codes on them that they could take. They could also scan. It had the state senate. It had the state representative. It had where they could go and find who their representatives were. I even had templates set up for them where I had email suggestions on how to write an email. It's better to put it in your own words, not do the copy and paste.
Of course.
But I gave them the guidelines. I was like, here's the header. Here's how you sign it. Here's the best way to get their attention. So I literally built all of this process.
Because that is a scary part for a lot of people, to my point earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you actually engage in the political process? You were handing it to them.
It was. And so they were engaging.
Yeah.
And then I also put together any of the virtual town halls. I was like, okay, there's going to be a virtual town hall here or here. And then for the debates, mostly it was the presidential and the governor's debates that were taking place here in Washington.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I know all politics is local. So I was trying to educate them more on the local side, but the debates were a good reason to gather and talk politics, right? And a fun kind of, and honestly, the debates were fun. I mean, come on.
They were fun.
I mean, Trump debates, but wherever you land on right or left of them,
they
entertaining.
were entertaining. Yeah, every time.
So I would put them on for the entertainment, and I gathered people at my house, and that's how I started educating. And this woman drove by my home.
She report you?
She wrote me and said, for your own sake, I'm reporting you.
For your own sake.
I'm so terrified for your health and your safety. I also need to report those other, I'm a mandatory reporter or something like that. I also need to report them. So I want you to know that I need to come. She didn't outright say, but she basically hinted that she got everybody's license plates that was in my house. And looking back, I think she would have reported me for sure. I don't know that she would have gone as far as the license plates. I think she was more trying to like bully me into like, stop.
Yeah.
Don't make me do this.
Yeah.
And honestly, and this will tie back to what I'm saying about standing on truth. I had this deep moment of panic.
Yeah.
I suddenly was like, oh my God, I put all these people, they could lose their jobs. They could get reported. They were all from such diverse backgrounds, all sorts of fields. And I was like, what have I done?
You're not worried about you. You're worried about them.
I was so worried. And then I got worried about my husband because he's military.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that could be severe consequences. And then I did think, oh, and then what's going to happen to me?
Well, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
I love that. Oh man. That series of events though, them, your husband, you, it wasn't you first.
No, it really wasn't, because I've always kind of been rough and tumble and like, I'll land on my feet somehow. And I just remember all of a sudden this fierceness of anger coming over me again. It's like, you can come at me all you want. Don't you dare touch my people.
Yep.
And I will gut you and you will regret it.
Yes.
So, and I mean that metaphorically, but I'm like, you will regret this.
I've seen your knife. I don't think you mean that just metaphorically.
Well, you got to know how to defend yourself,
That's
kids.
right.
So, but I just remember thinking, come at me.
Yeah.
Because now I'm coming at you first. And I started compiling information. I started finding all the laws. I started looking at anybody that could protect me, could protect them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you've done it. So
you just threatened me. You just poked the bear.
You did.
Here it comes.
And it was really because she threatened the people.
Yep.
The people.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So that's what we need to see. And I'm not saying that to like raise myself up on a pedestal, but we need to see that fierceness. We need to unlock it in every one of us.
Yes.
Because there's been other instances in my life where I didn't respond that way, right? Going back to, I don't like I caved there, right? I didn't stand firm. I didn't stand on my principle. I caved.
Yep.
We all have those. But as a leader and as someone, when you get elected, as much as you're a public servant to the people, you're also leading them because they don't know all of the things that are happening. It is your obligation and your civic duty to commit to supporting the Constitution and the rights that they have.
Yep.
And again, even if you can't do anything about it, because we are up against a tide right now, even if you can't, you have the obligation to make sure that all of your voters know the truth.
Yes.
And to stand on it.
What I love is you clearly have passion, like across the board. Anything that we've talked about, everything in your life, you bring passion to it.
Thank you.
There's an extra level of intensity here.
Yeah.
And what do you attribute that to? Of all the things that you could have, is it because, I mean, we do have our Constitution, our founding documents, what this nation is founded on is so unique in history that it is respect for the beauty that is the individual.
Yeah.
It is recognizing their sovereignty and then building a system around which to protect that. It's not the other way around.
No.
We aren't here to protect our system. I mean, yes, we are that too. Like, I do want to protect what we have, but that's not the greater thing. I'm the greater thing.
Yes.
Is that where that passion comes? Like because I getting passionate around COVID, I get, but out of all the things that you could have like staked your life on, really, essentially, why this?
Communism really boils down to replacing God with government.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And all I saw this as is a replacement of government, or God.
I mean,
government.
And you literally saw that.
I did. And it really was, that was really what fired me, was you can
get some toilet paper, but you can't get your last rites.
Can't. You can tell me that I cannot go and kneel before my Creator. No one can take that right from you.
Yeah.
And I will fight for your right to say, I don't want to go kneel before a Creator and I don't believe in Him. That makes me sad. But it is all about the humans, and that we are supposed to do our best here. I believe this is the one calling that we all have in common. We are all called to help others to be connected to their Creator. That is my complete belief, that that's probably one of the things I've noticed is that is the thread I think that actually does bind us all together, is we all are made to know our Creator. And it is our job and our responsibility to help others to see that.
Yeah.
And that disrespect to our God, to say, no, you don't get to, I get to tell you. I get to try and control your thoughts. And you read books like, I forget the name of the book, but where the gentleman was in like the gulag, and he said that was like one of his things. They could not take my brain. They couldn't take my prayers.
Oh, why can't I think of his name?
Yes.
Oh, no. Yep, that one.
Yes, I know.
Yep.
Victor, is it Victor? No. Anyway.
I can see his portrait.
Yes.
I can't think of his name. Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, you think of that. I literally felt that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what this country was established for, the right to worship. And you took the main purposeful reason that this country was created, and you are disrespecting it, and you're more importantly disrespecting our Creator. You do not get to elevate yourself above God. How dare you? And that is why I'm passionate about this because too many good people who understand that have not stepped into this arena because it is dirty and it is difficult and it is hard and it has been corrupted. It has. But I have met some of the most amazing and best friends in the entire world in this particular arena because I said, I will hold to my morals. I will root myself around people who are moral that can call me out when I'm misstepping. And we will shine a light in the dark spot. That is what we're supposed to do. And that's why I'm passionate, because kids are dying. Kids are being killed because of these laws that are being passed. Whether it's from, abortion to doing drugs on the street, these innocent little lives don't have a chance. And that angers me because it's governments. It is even our own government that is dictating that, setting these people up for failure, dangling their addictions in front of them on the street. Why do you think we have a homeless crisis? It's really a drug epidemic, whether it's because they're self-medicating or because they're now doing drugs because they've given themselves a mental health issue from doing the drugs. You literally dangled an addiction in front of someone. It's like giving a child a screwdriver and sending them in a room like a toddler without plugging the outlets. Oh yeah, what's going to happen? They're going to stick it in the holes and they're going to hurt themselves.
It's a really good way of saying that.
Thank you.
Well, and back to the states' rights piece.
Yes.
We're sitting in Coeur d'Alene right now.
And
so you saying that we have a homeless problem. Well, actually, as soon as you cross the border, we don't have a homeless problem. And so isn't it amazing that states' rights, like what you picked up a hell of a battleground because Washington, and I know this isn't good. I know this is, you've chastised me for this before. Coming over from Western Washington, because my piece was, I remember going to church once it opened back up in the great state of Washington during COVID and walking in, and I'm the only one not wearing a mask. And I'm looking around the room and going, you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
You and I have built an AR together. You and I have, go down the list of, we've had this history conversation before about fighting tyrannical governments. And you're all wearing masks judging me?
I know.
I thought you were my tribe. What are we doing? You're wrong. So being the one person standing up in a crowded room saying everybody else is wrong, it's a scary place to be in.
It is. Good for you.
But once I was able to get out of Washington, I got out of Washington. So thank you for fighting the fight in Washington. I'll dip my toe back in every once in a while. And hey guys, how can I support you? But I'm going back home to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
No drugs. No. It's true.
So I'm kind of, that's not the most admirable place to be in. You've got the high ground on that.
You have kids. There is a difference to protect your family. Like, yes. You do have children.
I need to raise them in an environment where they're going to be able to thrive, and it is not in Washington State.
Set them up for success.
Yep.
You can put your children in bubbles in Washington State and still raise them to be good and kind of inoculate them, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
And with some of the laws that are not really lawful, but they're followed, the parents' rights are getting completely undermined in Washington
trampled.
State.
Totally. It's insane to me that medical decisions can be made by a 13-year-old.
Yes.
And the parents have no say.
And they've now connected clinics to the schools in Spokane.
It's insane.
Yes.
It's madness. Because not only is it putting the government ahead of God, but then it's putting the government ahead of family.
Yes.
And it puts the government ahead of the individual. You just said that's what communism is. It's putting the government above everything else. It's like, it's so maddening.
It is.
So then how do you go from having your friend in church reporting you to helping to run campaigns, to running the young professionals? How do you, and there's more pieces in there too.
Yeah.
That's you like took off like a rocket ship.
I did.
How do you do that?
So going back to my parents' hard work ethic, they always say start knocking and doors will open or doors will shut or windows will open or windows will shut, right? So like anything, like, being as a musician, once you start pulling on a thread in one industry and you're interested, you start to like, well, where can I go next? And how can I do that? And where can I go? I will say that I appreciated very much Representative Jenny Graham's daughter just so happened to be buying something at a store next to me. And I noticed like she and I were maskless. And I was like, you're cool. Like, I'm cool. You're cool. Want to talk? And so we did. And she was like, well, my mom's actually a state representative and she's fighting the good fight. And so it just was this kind of God thing that connected me there.
Yeah.
So I started to learn how to reach out to your local state representative. Turns out that she actually wasn't mine at the time. I was barely like 2 blocks out of her district.
Oh no.
But she still represents you. So that's the piece too that people forget is even if your state representative is not accessible, then go find the one that is and utilize them to vocalize what you're seeing and what you're hearing. So that started me down that path. And then when the governor race and then the presidential race went, in my opinion, sideways, very sideways, especially here at the state level, I was very excited for the movement that I was seeing at the governor's rallies for governor candidate Lauren Culp. And so I ended up like kind of following them pretty closely and dragging a bunch of people out. Like, we got to go support, like these people are putting on these events. There's political people there. This is how you get to meet them. So I kind of already had a knack for that, pulling on the thread.
Yeah.
And then basically when the campaigns lost, I was like, I need to still stay involved. I can't, like, what, we lost and we go home?
Well, and that was taking the air out of the sails for a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
Because I remember thinking, oh, Culp's got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely remember thinking, Trump's got this.
Yes.
And I mean, the graph doesn't lie. That was kind of an interesting, wow, where'd all those votes randomly come from?
Yes.
Which, I mean, that's almost another maddening, just another add on to that of, you're just pissing me off more. You're making me want to fight more. Or it could be disincentivizing. It could take the wind out of your sails. Yeah.
And that's where I think, again, we have to lean into what is my moral?
Yeah.
Like, who was it? Was it who inspired Lincoln? John Adams, right? Yep. Who died literally on the floor of Congress trying to fight against slavery.
Yeah. How about that?
And he inspired Abraham Lincoln, who also died for that same cause.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point are we going to step up?
Yeah.
Step up. Stop being a coward.
Yeah.
We're all scared. We all have things that we could lose. But grow a pair.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
It's like, or get out of my way and follow. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to go do something about it.
Yes. Don't get in my way.
Yeah.
We're going to go do something. And that's where I started to find others that had that same mentality of, no, we're done.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to the Culp campaign team and I reached out to actually multiple governors' campaign races. Governor candidate, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Josh Freed. I even reached out to them, but nobody took me serious. I was like, I really want to get involved. I want to help. I'm a stay-at-home wife, for heaven's sake. I'm like the perfect volunteer.
I got the time. I got the passion.
Yeah.
I got the knowledge.
What better volunteer?
All really? The skill sets.
Yeah.
Take me.
So, and I have found volunteers that were just as awesome as me. And I'm like, yes, I recognize you. Get over here. Like,
that's so good.
It's so good. So that got me, they took me serious and they let me shadow on Governor candidate Culp's congressional race. They let me start to shadow. Cool. I started kind of learning the ropes. I came on mostly as kind of the photographer initially. I did some of the photography for that. And then pretty soon it spiraled into me recognizing how important local was. Yeah. And I was like, I really want to get involved in the local races because yes, it would be awesome to get, a very conservative congressman, but really he's not going to change anything at the local level, which is where our government shut us down. Yeah. So I was like, I really want to get involved. So I met this woman, Natalie, who ran for office, and I worked on her campaign, and that was my first campaign. And it really isn't much different than the marketing and consulting skills I learned. So, I was going to
say, the thread
of how God trains you.
Yeah.
And that helped. And then with my skills in storytelling and like writing, I was able to like help like kind of you kind of take the candidate, you explain their story along the way, right? Like it's literally marketing. So you're telling a story about this person till the very end. And so that got me involved, and I ran her race. And then I picked up Bob McCaslin's county auditor race in the primary because they saw my work ethic. I think that was the big thing. And then I kind of thought, as I was doing that, I kind of thought it would be a little bit of a flash in the pan. Like, okay, I'm doing this. This is really cool. I'm documenting it. Really, what a cool story to tell your kids. Like, you're working on all these campaigns. It's kind of cool.
It is really cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So that excited me. And then that was a really hard, I took a loss on all those races because we're in a tough state, you know.
We are in a very tough state.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that could be demoralizing. That could be, okay, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
But you just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're convicted.
I am. And I saw God doing something important.
Yeah.
And I just had to trust.
Well,
and
he put you on that thread. It's kind of hard to say no to that.
It is. And so I met Jessica Yeager, city councilwoman now.
I love her.
She's great.
Amazing.
Just real.
She's real. She's a good person. There's not enough good words to describe her. She is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person.
She is. And that I met her through Natalie Poulsen and Bob McCaslin's campaign. And I met a couple other people through it.
That's how we met.
That is how we met. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So through Jessica's. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're at Wood City?
What was it? Was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep, yeah. It was randomly, like, I can't remember quite.
I don't know why of all the people you guys,
You just were cool.
I guess. Yeah. But like.
Or we all have that thread of a little bit, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. No, you were great. Yeah, that is right. We met there and we had appetizers and stuff. And yeah.
And I remember meeting, because this is the first time I'm meeting you and Jessica, and I'm blown away by both of you. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, because like these two women are phenomenal. And I drum. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Oh, you were so much more than that. Come on. I know if I get to interview you someday, all the brush strokes will come out. So.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was a win.
It was.
Yeah.
I was able to, God really blessed me. I worked on 6 campaigns and was able to help 4 of them get elected.
That's phenomenal.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And that had to feel good.
It did.
Validating.
It did.
Yeah.
It validated patience, which I'm not patient. I really hate being patient and being told to be patient. And
remind me not to tell you to be patient.
Do not.
Okay.
You make sure I have coffee and don't tell me to be patient. Like 2 very important things.
I'm going to pull that out at a very special moment. Chill. Be patient. And I'm just, watch. Have the cameras ready.
Yeah. So that felt great. And it felt good that people noticed the work effort like that we put in as a team. And I will say, as a team, I couldn't have done it without Natalie and Bob, and then the team that they brought on and that I was able to utilize. And then, that felt really good. I still kind of always kept thinking I was going to step out, but
why?
A little bit because there were still talks between my ex-husband and I about children.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, with the pace that you're running as a campaign consultant and manager, there's really not, it's very difficult on family life.
Yeah.
It's not.
Although it is, the time is set.
It is.
Right. And so that's nice, because when you talk about, well, if you go get a job, you have a job.
You do.
Until you die.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're running a campaign, hey, once the election's over, I mean, unless you're going to re-up and all that stuff, but you can have a finite, I'm going to do it for this season.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is a season that you kind of are done right around Thanksgiving. You're done. You don't really have to, you foster some things, but it's definitely lull until about March.
Yeah.
Or April.
Well, and this had to be cool too, because you get those 4 candidates in. And so now it's, hey, we actually get to, the first thought I have is we get to affect the change that
Yes.
you wanted to have happen, right? And the candidates wanted to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
But even before that, even in the ones that didn't win, you're still changing the hearts and the minds of the people and getting them active.
Yeah.
That led to the 4.
It did.
So it's, when you say it's local, it's not even just city council folks, it's your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's local. Change one person, or speak truth to them, get them to see it, or get somebody active, get them to come out and actually vote for once.
Yes. I mean, in Washington state, we're what's called a jungle primary, which means that 2 people from the same party can progress to the general election.
Which is crazy.
It is little. It's kind of fun.
In the state of Washington, it's crazy.
Yeah. In other states, it'd be an advantage.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would need to do more research on how I really do feel about it. I kind of like it because it's kind of fun. I don't know. It's kind of brutal, kind of like all in, but it can create a throttle. Like it can create a chokehold by one party or the other, obviously.
Exactly. Yep.
But
and if the one candidate for whichever party doesn't have a shot, then that doesn't seem advantageous either.
No.
So I kind of, the jungle kind of works.
It kind of works. It's kind of fun in a way. I don't know. I would have to do, like I said, I haven't done quite as much because it's just what we live under in Washington state. It hasn't
always been that way though.
No. And I haven't done a ton of research on like the constitutionality of it. So I'd have to like get back to you on like, well, is it constitutional or is it, is it the way it should have been? Whatever. But
it's what we're playing with currently.
It is. But what I bring to attention is the fact that in 2024, we had 2 free market Republican candidates running for lands commissioner. And then we had 1 Democrat running for lands commissioner. So it was 3-person primary. So the 2 Republicans, like the only reason there weren't 2 in the general was because 55 people didn't vote.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
Sue Peterson and Jamie Herrera Butler would have both been through to the general election if 55 more people had voted.
Wow.
Statewide. So we would have had in a statewide race 2 Republicans in the general.
Wild.
Mm-hmm. So that is why I have become obsessed with educating.
Yes.
Because we also think of the percentage of that is so hard to think. Like, I mean, Spokane County in Washington state alone could have carried a statewide election if just a couple more people had gotten their families to vote. Then the second race that we need to draw attention to is the Supreme Court Justice, Dave Larson, was going against, I'm trying to blank on his opponent's name. And I don't want to speak super ill of his other opponent because he at least seems to be more moderate.
Yeah.
But a constitutional candidate that really supports the Constitution.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Dave Larson lost a statewide race by 1,000 votes. 1,000. And you think of a statewide race losing at 1,000, what the percentage of that is mind-blowing. So when you say, like, not when you, but mean collective you, when people say that Washington state isn't winnable, isn't worth fighting for, we don't have access.
It's right there.
It's just right there.
It's right there.
And we're getting it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the part that's fun. And the other part that's fun is, again, tying back to my faith, I actually heavily contemplated moving to Florida in 2024 because of my marriage situation. My husband really didn't want to continue to be here in Washington. And he was struggling with that. And without getting into too many details, I don't want to be disrespectful of it. There was heavy conversation of like a move to Florida.
Yeah.
And I was struggling with it, to be honest. I had fallen in love with Washington state and with all of the people there. I really just had, which surprised this Texan.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock. And then I remember kneeling in prayer and going, what do we do? And I just had this clear feeling of plant your flag.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, planted.
Yeah.
And part of it is not that I actually do not think anything less of people that have moved out of Washington State.
Thank
I
you.
really don't. No, you're welcome. I don't. In fact, honestly, like with children, especially those who have children, it has become so hostile towards parents' rights that it's kind of scary. It is scary.
It really is.
So I can honestly, genuinely understand that true healthy fear of like, it's one thing to put myself in danger. It's another to put my child in danger. And right. I can't even imagine.
And to be fair, there's so many like, because we've thought about it. We almost went back to the house that we just sold back on the west side. It would have been simpler.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that saying, you can't go home again.
Yes.
And growing up all over Western Washington and parts of Western Oregon, there's so many things that I love, but none of it's the same anymore.
No.
And, there's like a school that my son goes to here. Phenomenal. But like you start adding up the things and like totally forget the politics, the things that are here for us. It's where we're supposed to be.
Yes.
Because I did very heavily consider going, or like even moving to Liberty Lake. Liberty Lake's fantastic.
It is.
Spokane's fantastic. There's a lot of fantastic spots. This is exactly where we're supposed to be. So I haven't given up on Washington. I do love Washington.
I know you do. That's why we're here.
And I work in Spokane.
You do.
Yeah.
So you see the problems and they affect you in your daily life.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of, it's just important to recognize though, and this is what I would push for anyone that isn't living in Washington State that did leave because of work reasons, political, whatever it is.
We're right there.
It's following you.
Oh, yeah.
It's following you.
Yeah.
All of these policies that we look at Washington State and see all the problems, they're here.
Yep.
So
Very true.
It is true. And that going home to El Paso, Texas for my brother's wedding, and that thing, you can't go home. It's so interesting you brought that up because I was going to talk about this. I went to El Paso and I saw the same agendas being pushed in El Paso, Texas. Catholic, El Paso.
That just break your heart?
Yeah. And I thought, cancer spreads.
Yeah, it does.
So when I think about that, and actually what's really sad is my parents were more restricted in their diocese of El Paso than I was in Spokane, Washington's diocese.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Once the governor lifted the mask and stuff, the diocese in Spokane did everything that they could to give as much freedom as they could back to everything.
Yep.
And the diocese in El Paso, because they had the authority of the local government behind them, was basically like, no, we want to keep you masked and we want to keep you this and this and this. And it actually made articles. So I guess my point is, I would have thought running to Texas would have been the land of freedom, but really they still violated their rights. And even no criticism to Idaho. I love Idaho, but I still could not sit in the pew right behind you in Idaho when it opened.
Right.
I had to sit two pews back, and there was ropes. And I remember one time, it was madness. And I remember one time I showed up, my husband and I, we showed up to try and get to church, and they're like, it's full, and it's not full. The church is not full.
No.
But they just had let the capacity in, and we didn't get to go to church that day either. So it's like, as much as I do love that Idaho, they still did that to us.
Yeah. Yep.
And that behavior needs to be corrected.
Yes. Well, and that's where we were talking about this just before I hit roll on this episode. Well, and I'm going to tie in another piece to what I'm about to say. People need to be held responsible and punished.
They do.
You destroyed lives. You denied people seeing their loved ones when they were dying.
Yes.
You denied the last rites. You denied people being able to go to the gym. Oh, the thing that would have kept them healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You denied them being able to worship their God. You denied them being able to celebrate birthdays. You stopped their lives on false pretenses that you knew were false. And then there's a whole bunch more we can go down on that whole road. People need to be punished to show other people that you cannot do this again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Nuremberg trials were, right?
Yes.
We don't want that, and you will be punished for it. And to the point about moving around and cancer spreads, you have to take a stand somewhere.
Yes.
At some point you have to. And so you might as well do it now instead of if you just keep running, we talked about confidence earlier, right? You keep running and my dad had a saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it's more about just you. You can't run away from yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't hide from what's going on in the U.S. no matter where you go. Yes, there's red states and yes, there's blue states, but we're all feeling it. So freaking find your voice and stand up.
Yes. Plant your flag.
Plant your flag.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And it's not even, because I made the determination when I was like, okay, if I feel like God's calling me to Florida to move where my husband wants us to go, I will submit to that. I will. But I'm like, I will plant my flag there. I was like, we are not moving to Florida and going back to Jill in 2017, 2018, just saying, oh, voting's good enough. It just can't happen. And once you know, you can't unknow. And that is the power of knowledge. And that also, I think, ties into the shirking of responsibility.
Yeah.
And with knowledge does come responsibility. And so it's like, so I understand why people are a little hesitant and scared to know, because once they know, they know.
Yeah.
And
ignorance is bliss.
It is bliss. I am not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was very happy. Like, stay-at-home wife, not having to worry.
Should I put a warning at the beginning of this episode? What you learn here cannot be unlearned.
Yes.
You will have to take action.
Yes.
Yeah.
You will have to plant a flag.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I want to know. I'm going to listen to the episode. It was a trick.
It was marketing. Damn it, Brandon.
You just give them a taste. First one's free, folks.
That's so awesome.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It's true. It's marketing.
It is marketing. Oh, that's too funny.
But
so then with those successful campaigns and you decide not to go down to Florida.
Yeah.
I take it that's the punchline. You're still here. So you didn't go down to Florida.
I did not.
You planted your flag here.
I did.
Where do you go from there?
So I ended up just realizing just Florida wasn't the right place. And I ended up picking up a Senate campaign, a local Senate campaign. Yeah, for Mike Kelly.
I love Mike.
Oh, he's great.
He is great.
He is really great. And so I picked up his race. And I was I was still at this time thinking that I was still maybe going to move to Florida.
Yeah.
Honestly, because it was still an ongoing conversation. And just on the personal side, my marriage was in turmoil at that point, kind of figuring out like, what's the next step? How does this work and operate? But, I did always ask my husband, like, are you okay with me taking on these races? Cause it is a full commitment for family.
Yeah.
And I don't know why in particular, the political arena is even more of a weight on family. I've kind of wondered if it's not just the emotional demand it also takes as well as the physical.
Yeah.
And so I always asked him, and I was actually working on a congressional campaign at that time as well, but I really like local. So I was really hoping to pick up a local race, which I ended up getting Mike's. And so I started running Mike's campaign, and unfortunately he lost in the primary by 202 votes. It was
There's another tight one.
So tight, but this is the power of voting. It was so tight, but this is where I trust God and lean into that. Okay. It was hard to lose. It was. But again, I'm like, but something needed to come of this. And what happened was I ended up picking up the judges race.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
That's what came out of that?
That's so because you have, obviously you have a primary, and the primary happens in August, and then the general election happens in November.
Yeah.
Well, once Mike lost in August, suddenly Judge Van Winkle was like, I want help in my campaign. I've seen how you've been working. I'd love to bring you on. And so I got hired onto his campaign, and then Brandon Casey, who also ran for judge, and I got hired onto both of their campaigns.
Cool.
And so, unfortunately, Brandon did not win. His was a lot tougher race. It was against a female, and just in the eye of the public, just perception. I mean, we have to recognize recognize politics is a real thing and marketing's a real thing. And she's, she's a female, she's attractive. And so it was difficult. It was a difficult race a little bit. And honestly, his race started a little later than it should have because they didn't know what they didn't know. But learning and working on both of their campaigns really helped me understand judicial races. Yeah. And that was really fun.
Different ball of wax.
Different for sure.
Yeah.
But the same at the same time, but different rules. There's different rules that like actually a judicial candidate cannot be in the room when money is being asked for his judicial campaign.
Really?
Even though he's not a judge.
Because judges can't be influenced by money in general. And so even if they're campaigning, it still falls under that.
Yes.
Got it.
And then basically, but what's really silly is they're not supposed to go, all donations are public record.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're not supposed to go and like, I will give this to them. My candidates were very good at not looking at their donations, but I'm like, but it's public record. Like, I don't understand that concept of, but it's fine. Yep. It's a very weird little,
it's very goofy,
a very goofy rule, but I'm like, whatever, we followed it. It was fine. And then Judge Van Winkle won, which that was again, just like, so.
It was so nice talking to him the other week. He's so cool. So knowledgeable. Yeah. Very smart guy.
Very smart.
Yeah. And definitely judge. Built for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He found his calling.
He did. I haven't gotten to see him in court yet, but apparently because a lot of the court, like him presiding over the court cases is open to the public. Oh. My good friend Naftali actually. And
Naftali's great too.
Oh, she's so wonderful. She's amazing. So she helped me so much on all these races. So that's where when you hear me saying me, it's really, I'm a team. Huge team. It's just my team and our team. And there's so many people behind me that helped. I couldn't do it without them. And so that's been huge. But she went and watched him in court and was like, it was so cool to see him preside as judge. And I was like, okay, I need to add that to my to-do list to go.
You let me know. I'm coming with you.
Yes, I will. Yeah. I know. You apparently can't bring popcorn and like a drink, but okay. I was like, we can still make it fun.
That was sad.
I know. Cause
can we bring balloons?
We're here for the judge. So, right.
I would go through the metal detector, so I don't know why they would restrict it.
I don't know why. Yeah, it's not distracting.
No,
it's
not
my
at all.
hat.
I identify as a balloon. These are my balloon friends. We're coming in. Again, Washington State, you can pull crazy stuff like that, right?
You can, unfortunately.
Yeah, why not?
I know, it's sad, but if you gotta laugh.
Yeah. Teach me the rules. I'll play the game.
I know.
I just want my balloons. So that's the most recent ones. Yes. Are you working any campaigns now?
I am. So
can you disclose? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I can for sure. So I also do work full time with the Washington Policy Center, and I run their Young Professionals program, and they've been so gracious at letting me also do consulting on the side. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because of my team. So I work with a great team of people that
you do work with a great team.
I do. So I get to do my consulting on my fund. I was actually doing that before I got here today.
Cool.
I was just like sitting in my office and like doing my thing.
Oh, you were in your flow state. You were doing your thing.
I was, and like just the doing the consulting side, I can manage the races from afar, which is it's cool. And it's also kind of again where I felt like God was leveling me up by taking on this amazing role for the Young Professionals Director. I love it. We've been growing.
How did that come up? How did you get that? And what does the Washington Policy Center do for those that don't know?
So the Washington Policy Center is a free market think tank that pushes policy in Washington State. We're kind of the experts in the field on free market solutions, and legislators are able to come to us to get ideas for bills or even bounce ideas off of us on like, is this bill bad? What are the pros? What are the cons? How does it work? So we're just a really great resource for them, but we're also a great resource for the public.
Yeah.
And the reason I discovered them was in 2022 when I was running those initial local races. I honestly didn't understand Washington policy. I knew Texas policy, and I had been studying all the fundamental rights of like our state, Washington State Constitution, which by the way, this is hard for a Texan to say, but it's Washington state constitution is one of the best written in the country.
It is really well written.
It is. It's amazing.
Now, if they would freaking follow it.
Exactly. And it's one of the closest aligned to the federal and actually expands on certain topics even better than the federal.
Yes. And I remember reading the Washington state constitution and going, at first it was, why do we even need this? It just follows what the U.S. Constitution is. And then the extra being able to expand on those, I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah. I was like, maybe the federal needs to take this and like make it more clear, right?
Exactly.
So that was kind of the why I got turned on to them. I was like, oh, wow, they're actually, because I'm kind of a skeptic. Like
I am too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just skeptical.
I'll go in with a healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not untrusting. That's something different. But yeah, skepticism. Like, okay, I understand maybe you're saying you're an expert, but I kind of want to see your work. Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I
trust but verify.
Exactly. I love that phrase.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's so good. But that got me turned on to the Washington policy, and I did a bunch of dives on their data, and I was like, oh wow, they're actually like really are very fact based. And I do like they're nonpartisan because then you're able to present to people in a way that we're like, let's all agree on this thing.
Yep.
And that turned me on to them. I started like using their resources a lot, and then found they had a young professionals group. I got connected to the staff member there, and she asked me to be on the advisory board because the Young Professionals has like kind of an east and a west side advisory board that helps drive and bring people to the program.
Cool.
And so she got me on as a board member, and I was able to help her. She was on Spokane side and one of the only employees for the Washington Policy Center at that time on the east side of the state. And so I was able to help her set up events and bring people and kind of do just like the fun things that we're kind of expanding on, honestly, now.
I'm so excited.
I know. It's so good.
Well, because everything comes down to community.
It does.
Right? So
yeah,
building it up, getting more people in.
And I love it. And they're so supportive.
You're so good at it.
Oh, thank you. It's just really great to have this amazing community of young people. And the Washington Policy Center just provides this great venue of education, but also community. And so they were considering potentially shutting down the program if they didn't find the right fit.
And then they found you.
And then they did. Yeah. They asked.
And it is the perfect fit.
Thank you. I think so.
Well, and there's so many people that are so excited, but they don't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you've planted the flag.
Yeah.
And it's the banner that everybody can rally around.
It is. And it's given opportunity for the Washington Policy Center to grow as well and kind of get more recognition that they deserve because they are so well researched. And again, they've given me the flexibility to also run these campaigns like part-time and not take me away from something else that I'm also very passionate about. So that's really cool that they're very supportive in that realm.
Yeah.
So I'm actually helping with Christopher Savage is running for city council in Spokane. He's a great man. Yeah, he's very good. That's a very important race. And then just a couple others. I've given some consulting advice on like some school board races because those are so important too.
Those are really important.
Yeah, so I gave some guidance on that. Those are a little more hands off. That's kind of up to the candidate.
Yeah.
As far as like actually like getting on the ground and doing the groundwork. But it's been really humbling, and Naftali helps me, and she's actually running just because I want to make sure I'm being respectful to my job as well and honoring that commitment there. Which so she's actually running for city council in Spokane Valley.
Is she?
Mike Kelly. She's running it. Yeah.
Oh, she's running it.
She's running it. She's not running yet, but
brilliant.
Yeah. So she's running full point on that.
And I love that Mike's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. Mm-hmm.
He's a good man.
He is. So
cool.
And again, God.
It always works out the way it's supposed to.
It does. And he forced me to level up too, because I think if I hadn't taken on this young professionals role, like I would have still been not on purpose, but still like, oh, I'm the one doing all the races. And instead now I actually have a campaign manager running Chris Savage's campaign. Cool. And I just do the over the top.
Yeah.
And Naftali's doing both consulting and management on Mike's. And I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
Like she's handling all of that.
That's so good.
So it's kind of like duplication of yourself.
Yeah. I keep telling people that I really like yourself.
Thank you.
That man, we just need a cloning machine. Well, you found the freaking secret sauce.
Good people.
There it is. Good people. Okay.
Don't think you're not a part of my plan.
Oh, crap.
I mean, I love how you were like, I'm with these two amazing women. What am I even doing here? And it's like, oh, there's a reason. You haven't asked that yet. What was the reason I was there?
Yeah, what was the reason I was there?
I'll tell you off podcast.
I'm smacking my trying to. All right.
Here you
Okay.
go.
All right. I'm good.
You should ask all the people about the crazy rides Jill's taking them on.
Oh, no.
That'll be podcast unplugged off the record.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea, actually. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and actually, okay, so that is something that I think is interesting. And I don't think this is where you're taking any of this, but it just popped into my head, so I'm going to roll with it. Who was I listening to? I think it might have been Dave Smith. I know it was about Rogan. Whoever it was, they were talking about Rogan and him having Trump on. Mm-hmm. Right. And how like you cannot do the short form. I mean, you might have to still play that game a little bit, but the short form, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes on mainstream media.
Yeah.
And the old school debate style and all that other stuff. Right. Like that's not where the magic happens anymore. It's the long form podcasts.
It is.
And so I might have to, it'd be interesting to have on some of these candidates.
It would.
Yeah. Because you get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Are they? Because you can read the voters pamphlet.
Yes.
You can go to an event, and that again, like yes, absolutely, 100%. That you can tell so much by shaking somebody's hand.
Yes, you can.
Look them in the eye. Those things aren't going to get replaced. But 3 hours of uncovering who is this person? Is that somebody that you want to represent you? Represent your rights, and get change to happen. Get us back on track. It's interesting.
Yeah. Know who they are.
Yeah.
Know their character.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with all my candidates.
No,
I actually don't.
No, and you shouldn't agree 100%.
No, I don't want to.
No.
Like I've been in debates with my candidates.
Yeah.
And
iron sharpens iron, folks.
It does. And not being afraid of that, and not being afraid to support someone that maybe, and I'm going to tie this in really quick.
Yeah.
The Reagan rule.
Yes. Oh, I did not forget about that. It's been lingering right here.
And here we can go into it. The Reagan rule is, and it's paraphrasing a bit, but an 80% friend does not make a 20% enemy.
Yeah.
It's my favorite quote.
I've never heard that before. That is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My best friend, totally opposite politically.
Mine too.
And we end up having the most amazing conversations. And every time I talk to him, I go, okay, what are you hearing in your echo chamber? And we might bring up a specific subject. And then, you guys are doing this. Well, that's not what we're doing. You guys are doing this. And
wow.
it's so good because like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Because we're all in our little echo chambers.
We are.
And you uncover things. Best way to get to a solution.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Reagan rule is great.
Yeah.
But okay, so the marketing piece of things. So when I think of Reagan, like, I mean, he was an actor.
Yes.
Right. But I think of him with the pickup truck and his cowboy hat and he was very good at the marketing piece of being president.
Yes.
Right. And George Bush, the younger, he ended up doing some of that too. Right. Like I think about him giving some of his press conferences on his farm with all that stuff. And I can't remember what we were talking about but it's just the perception. I mean, it could have been with the judge, right? You're fighting against an attractive woman judge versus this guy. You've got there's so many weird things about perception that you have to play with. And so you end up playing in the marketing world for a little bit. Mm-hmm. You capture moments with photography. You tell stories in writing and in music. And so you've touched so many pieces that to be able to help guide people and have people in the public perceive the people in the correct light that's pretty cool because that was my Reagan bookmark was just like, there's a perception there. And so you do the same thing today.
I do. And it's to honor them too as a person. So
Yeah.
like, let's say I was going, like you were going to run for office. I wouldn't want you to be anything but Brandon. But I did tell my sweet friend Natalie, like we're like sisters. I looked at her one time and I was like, I'm not trying to change you. I'm just trying to elevate you.
Yeah. That's a good way of
so-
saying it. Would you make me wear a tie?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well, actually, I take it back depending on what position you're running for.
Yeah.
So, like for school board, you don't want to look too stuffy.
No,
you want to
you can't
know
look too
that
stuffy.
you want to portray that you're a dad,
Yeah.
right? You want to portray that. And I think that that's where staying true to who you are, but also recognizing what am I portraying, right?
Right.
I know that I dress a lot more professional than I actually used to, and actually even prefer. I actually really do prefer jeans and a ball cap. Like that's just, if anybody in Texas you ask like what was Jill normally in, I was like in a ball cap, t-shirt and jeans. Like that's just what I was in. And kind of these like tallish boots that I could go out and rattlesnakes wouldn't bite me. Like, you know,
wearing paddock boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just am like, that's where I like, but that perception of, I kind of realized, okay, I need to dress for the job that I'm in to be taken seriously because I need to portray that.
You're not wearing a cocktail dress at a gala.
No. And
That
so
was she was wearing. Yeah.
So that's where it's like, okay, well, I'm still Jill in my business suit and high heels. I'm still completely Jill. I still conduct myself the same, but I know the perception is, oh, she's a professional.
Yep.
And so there's just some realities that we have to face, but yeah, I do get to elevate them and I love it. And I get to show the world.
That is well said.
Yeah, I get to show the world who they are without changing them.
Yeah, you aren't changing them.
I'm not. I'm just showing them who they are, elevating.
Yep.
And that's been the funnest part of figuring out. Like I helped a gentleman create a logo and he's in Deer Park. And so of course it's like the rugged, kind of more rugged.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's who he is.
Yeah.
And so his logo represents that, but it's still sleek where if he ever wanted to run for something outside of that, he could.
Right.
So it's still that sleek, but it's still true to his roots.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it is. It is that fun. And to help them find that inside themselves, to be like, I never knew I could public speak. And now here I am.
Oh, yeah. It's the number one fear.
Yeah.
Of people.
I know.
Public speaking.
So.
That's so cool. You just used the term happy. Are you happy?
I'm joyful.
Oh, I like that. Do you feel like you found your calling?
Yeah.
Yeah. It shows.
Thank you.
I can't believe we already hit the 3.5 hour mark.
I know.
That's crazy. Okay. At least 2 last questions. I'm reserving the right to add more last questions. Hedging my bets all the time, Jill.
Smart man. Every good strategist should.
Yes, yeah. The first one is there anything about you that we didn't explore that we should have explored?
I like to have fun. Like,
okay, what does that look like?
I think it varies across like friendships, but I love a good comedy. I love a good joke. That has been something that growing up in a big family, the teasing is like nonstop. So there's always wisecracks and always jokes.
Yeah.
So I just love having fun as well, like cutting loose and being youthful. And I do that through actually probably my singing, my performing the most, where I just really cut loose. But I think that we can get something I've learned about myself is how comfortable and confident I am in who I am. And so it's like, I don't care who sees me dancing. It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's good.
Right? Like, it's like, I don't care. I know I have a huge laugh and it cracks people up that I laugh so loud, but it's like, I'm not going to try and stifle it because it might be disruptive. I just laugh big.
Let it out.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So that's something that I really tried to make sure I keep, because this world can get really serious. And I mean world in a general whole. but we can't take ourselves too seriously. So that's something I've really been navigating about myself is like, oh, I need to make sure I laugh. I need to hang around people that make me laugh or make me smile, or just, that fun piece. And it's always fun. I don't mean get into like negative trouble, but like I like sitting in a pub and having a good beer and just like mostly actually whiskey. I enjoy good whiskey. So that's something
if I had known that, I would have brought it up.
Oh gosh. Now I know I'll bring you a bottle next time. So thank you. Because I have, that I like whiskey when I got 4 different gifts of whiskey for my birthday.
Oh.
So
what's your jam?
I like bourbon the most, but
Okay.
I like a good scotch as well.
Yeah.
So that's been fun to explore. I like a good scotch. I like Irish whiskey. You gotta like Irish whiskey.
Well, of course.
Duh. So I can't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Balvenie, it's like a French kind of,
we're going to roll with that. It's Balvenie.
Yeah. So that's a really good one, good brand. But yeah, Dalmore, I just like whiskey in general.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you haven't been in Spokane, there's Purgatory, the whiskey
Purgatory's
bar.
great.
Oh, it's great.
I was just going to say, so our next meeting's at Purgatory.
Yes.
Got it.
I like Blanton's because it's kind of fun to try and find it. Actually, here in Idaho, it's easier to find than in Washington State. So.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess that's.
So you like to laugh. You like to have fun.
I do.
I like the dancing piece.
Yeah. I love to dance.
Yeah.
I'd like to do more, I'd actually like to take dance lessons. That's probably something I want to explore. Dance and more of my sketching is something I'd like to explore in the next 2-3 years. So it's on my agenda and laying it out.
A Renaissance woman.
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
But
well, good. Okay, so then last question. Okay. And I did sneak in an extra question or 2 in there. So I definitely got past 2.
But whiskey's always fun to talk about.
Whiskey's always fun to talk about. Yeah. We'll have to explore that more.
We will.
On the next one. If you had a megaphone that could reach everybody in the world, what would your message to them be?
Wow. That's a big question. What's on my heart at this moment would be to be bold. To stand up. You know what's right. You know what's good. Stand up. Take a stand. Stop being afraid. And to release that fear. And to charge forward. There's just something powerful about it. So just be bold in all you do. In the way you love your family, the way you love your kids, the way you do your job, the way you love your country, the way you love your God. Be bold. Be unabashedly bold. And I think it ties into that deep piece of love. Because if you really love something, or someone, or our Creator, you're going to be bold about expressing it. If you really believe in something, you're going to stand up and fight for it, and you're going to be bold. And you're not going to worry about being hurt emotionally, physically. You're not. You're just going to say, no, I need to be bold. This is true. So that would be what's on my heart at this moment and what I've been pushing into my team.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you're such a good example of it.
Oh, thank you.
That's how we got here today.
Thank
you. You being bold. You planting the flag.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
This has been a blast.
It has.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brandon.
There it is.
You are a light.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, folks. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Main Character Podcast. If you dig the content, please click that follow button. And if you found today's guest inspiring, please share this episode with someone you think will benefit from it. If you'd like to be a guest on Main Character Podcast, reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, where I'd also appreciate a follow. All links can be found at my website, coachwithbrandon.com.